Yes, welcome back to Football Heritage TV. It's Sunday night. That means it's the Spurs review. Look at them. I've gathered them from all different parts of the Spurs fan base. We've got Lubo, who's been telling us why Gray and Tell are going to be superstars in 2 years. I've got Danny, who is saying the complete opposite. The Danalist, I think he's got a few things he wants to say. Box Office always wants to be heard. He's the main event. And Luke still wants to talk about his admiration for Postecoglou. So we will get this show on the road. Gentlemen, how are we all?
All good today, mate. All good today.
All good.
Good.
Happy Father's Day.
Yes,
thank you to all of you. Yes. Who's a dad on the panel? Lubo, Dan, and Luke. You're all dads.
Mm-hmm.
Box Office, you're not, are you?
Yeah, I've just got a massive question right now to my head right now. Yeah.
Hang on, is it about football or about Father's Day?
Yeah, both. Well, no. Just in life in general, yeah. And
Go on.
Related to Tottenham, yeah. Right, in all my years, right, of things, I just need to answer this question: what do women want? What do women want? And what because I just want to relate it to Tottenham, because I don't know what Tottenham fans want either. You know what I mean? Because what do women want?
Consistency.
Exactly. What do women want?
Experience.
Exactly.
No teenagers.
That comes with the consistency.
A real woman, Alex, doesn't want a teenager. She wants experience, like the Spurs first team needs.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think
tactics.
It's related to Tottenham, isn't it? You know what I mean? You know, because
tactics.
My 38th day on 30th year in the world yesterday. Yeah. Birthday.
Happy birthday.
If anybody thinks that, yeah.
Happy birthday,
I'm still trying to figure it out. I need to figure it out.
Alex, the main thing they want is for you to be good going forward and good going back, mate. As soon as you got that sorted, you're all right.
So just a little harmless joke to start the show, because I know it's going to get a bit heated, maybe about a certain person, but you know,
mate, it's about tactics and just knowing where to find that right spot. Simple as that.
Anyway, before we go off on a complete tangent from the Spurs review, happy birthday, Alex, and happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. It's your birthday yesterday, Alex. It's my wife's birthday today. It is Father's Day for the rest of them. So everybody's celebrating something other than me. It's not my birthday and I'm not a father. So I'll just celebrate Matisse Tell. That's what I'm going to celebrate, guys. For my wife's birthday, Daniel Levy signed Matisse Tell. And the things I'm reading about this signing, you would honestly think we've just signed Doué from PSG. I genuinely don't know. We're going to talk about that in a minute, guys. We're going to talk about, obviously, Thomas Frank in the last week has signed since we've had a Spurs review. We're going to talk about Buemo. Is he coming? Is he not? It's all a bit up in the air. The kind of Man United move has stalled. Lots of reports saying he's joining Spurs. Lots of people now talking about Semenyo and Eze. Jack Grealish is in the mix of things as well. We'll talk about it all. The Club World Cup has started today. That looks like it's going to be funny. Bayern Munich just won 10-0 for anyone that cares. They just beat Auckland 10-0. Sounds like a great competitive competition already. And other than that, we're here. It's Sunday night. There's 297 people in the chat and only 58 likes. So if you guys smash the like button, we'll provide you with some entertainment. I can assure you the opinions on Tell are going to be very, very interesting. And just so you all know, spoiler alert, Lubo is in full delusion mode. So we will get there very, very shortly. Guys, let's start. Anyone can go. Matisse Tell, the worst kept secret. We knew this deal was happening. My word for it is simple. It's free. It's 3 letters. Big up to Sean as well. Oh, hang on. I need to change it to this to get Sean on. There we go. My 3 words for Matisse Tell signing is, without a shadow of a doubt, meh. Just absolute meh. Spurs. Nothing's changed. Guys, one of you can take it away. Let's go. Who's going to talk to you about Matisse Tell signing for Tottenham?
Well, it's a Levy signing, isn't it?
It's a cracking bit of business.
And we're in. Sean's joined. He's straight in with a little punch to the gut. Go on, Sean. In you go, son.
He's going to be a top draw player. He's going to suit the system. And I've been taking receipts. I've been putting them in a digital vault, and I can't wait to bring them out and mud. However many people are going to be on the show today? What is it? 6, 7 of us in the chat, and probably going to be like over 1,000 people in the comment section, all telling me I'm in the wrong. And I can't wait to bring out the receipts in about 4 or 5 months' time when he's on his way towards 20 GA in his first full season as a Tottenham player. He's going to be a brilliant man for the next 6 years at Tottenham Hotspur, and it's just going to be wonderful mud baths for all of you in about 12 months' time. Can't wait.
Sean, were you in the green room listening to us, were you?
No.
Danny, right? Just wait for your moment, yeah? I'm coming in first, yeah? So because Sean said a stupid thing, so wait for it, yeah? So firstly, Sean, my boy, yeah? So,
birthday box office.
Oh, thank you very much. But you're still going to get mudded. The point is, though, yeah. You said he's looking very good. Did you like Gil? Gil, do you like Gil? Did you like Gil?
Yeah.
Did you like Gil? Yeah.
Yeah.
Look what happened to him. Do you like Lucas Moura?
Yeah.
Look what happened to him. Did you like
What do you mean? What happened to him? Is he okay?
He wasn't that great, wasn't he? Let's
he,
say
did,
that.
Did,
I'll get to the point. I'll get to a point. No, because I'll get to my point in a bit. Yeah, right.
Well, explain the first part of your point.
I haven't got to my point yet. Listen to it, and then I'll get to the end of it, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. Did you like G? Did you like G?
No, I don't remember him, to be honest.
You don't remember him? Yeah. Do you know what's all the difference between all those signings? Backups. Yeah. What I mean, have you learned anything by saying about backups that don't do anything? This guy was supposed to be our new loan signing to make an impact. What impact did he do from January to the end of the season? What did he do?
Well, I'll tell you, he scored 3 goals when he had.
Wow.
Hang on. He hadn't played any football. Right? He hadn't played any football for the longest period of time. He comes into a brand new league, into a team that, by the way, 10 other players in that team and a manager had deprioritized. They hadn't deprioritized the Premier League. They hadn't even deprioritized the philosophy. They deprioritized giving a shit. It was embarrassing what happened in the Premier League, and he was the only person who cared. He was the only person who gave a shit. He improved game after game, week after week. He created some chemistry, and I think that those things, when you're looking, if you're going to hold Matisse Tell accountable on the sample size that we got to see, then by that same rationale and logic, you should take the sample size of what you saw from the other players in the squad during that same period in the games in which he played, and on that basis, you should be able to land, if you were reasonable, on the idea that he was one of the better, if not the best player in the squad for the games that he was playing in the Premier League, when no one else gave a shit. Judge them all on the same sample size, and I think you'll come to the same sort of conclusion.
Timo Werner gave us a little bit more as well, but look what happened to him. He's off now, isn't he? He was useless. So
what's Timo Werner got? Hey, I don't know what you're doing here, but you're trying to assimilate an opinion on one player by reflecting on 4 or 5 others that have absolutely nothing to do with it.
Because the thing is, though, we've got to judge it. We've got to judge it on what we're seeing at the moment. Like I said, impact of the team. And let's be honest here, Timo Werner did more in his cameo, if you want to say, than Thomas Tell's done. And Thomas Tell, let's be honest here. Right? I'm sorry, Matty Tell, whatever you want to call him. So I do apologise, Matty Tell. No, don't deflect, Sean, because I'm bantering you. The point is, though, yeah, right. Matty Tell in that time frame for a loan has not made any impact. Yeah, so basing on what? Because he's a nice guy and he works hard. Well, that means that I should be in the team then, for goodness sake. Yeah, we might as well just get Andy Move. I work hard a lot. I work hard a lot.
More content out, bro. You got to put more content out. If you want me to be considering you in the same vein as Matisse Tell, I want to see 3 or 4 uploads a day, bro. It's just not coming from you right now. Mr. Box Office TV is Mr. Silent TV. It's Mr. TV turned off right now. If I'm entirely honest, bro. Work harder, bro. Work harder.
Good point, but you're deflecting.
Before we move to the other guys, Sean, can I ask? I just want to find out from you. What you've got a different opinion to tell from a lot of people I've seen. Can I ask what it is, other than without using the words work rate? What is it that you've seen that makes you go, yeah, he's a good signing? And for now, I don't care about 2028. For now, what have you seen that's good about him?
So two things just before I answer that question. When you say things like, I want to hear your answer to my question specifically, but also I'm removing the ability for you to name the things that are positive about a player, you're immediately backing someone into a corner to be able to put into
I'm not removing anything.
You did. You said don't say, you did. You said don't include work rate.
Yeah, but okay. As a footballer, what is he good at? Is what I'm asking. Work rate, add work rate if you want. Cool. He works hard.
He does work really hard. I think it's really important when you're considering the context of what we were doing this in that particular part of the season when nobody else in the team gave a shit. He did. I think that counts for something. I think it's meaningful. I think he is a player that has a fantastic first touch. I think he's got a lovely cross on him. I think he's got good chemistry with people like Wilson Odobert that I think are going to come more handy. I think he's going to fit into our system next year with more narrower front three than he did when he's asked to play off on the wing, because we've already seen from Bayern Munich saying he's not a winger. He's not a touchline winger. He's a 9. I don't think he's a 9, but I think he's more of a narrow wide man, if you like. He's not someone who's going to hug the touchline and take players on, but he's someone that can cut in. He's also more than happy to pop out onto the left hand side, or go with his left foot, or go inside on the right hand side. So on that basis, I think he's unpredictable with his step overs, and I think that he is more than capable with both feet. Weaknesses that I think that should be called out that he needs to work on is his shot speed and his shot effort. I think he's got a bit of pillow feet problems that can come with age. And when I say with age, he's 19. He's just turned 20. He was 20 in April. We signed him on a 6-year deal. So the other part of the argument that I was going to say is when you say you don't care about something in a couple of years' time, if the argument is it's a terrible signing, it's horrendous, it's shit, it stinks of Tottenham, it's Tottenham, typically Tottenham, yada, yada, yada. But I'm also going to caveat, I'm going to protect myself from a future you were wrong by saying he might be world class in 2 years' time. That is part of the value proposition of spending 30 million quid on a 20-year-old on a 6-year contract. You are not just buying it for now, you are buying him for the next 6 years.
Sure. But can you understand then why most Spurs fans, though, like we make these signings every single year?
When you say most Spurs fans, I did a 2,000 person poll yesterday and a 2,000 person poll this morning on my channel, and 68% of people were happy with the signing on my channel. Now, maybe my personal persuasion influences my audience. I don't know. I hope not. To be honest, I hope that people can stick to their own opinions without needing a content creator to influence them. And then this morning I did the same thing, and it was just like less. About 1,900 people voted, and it had 71% of people that were happy with Matisse Tell. So from the audience that from the polls that I've seen, and I put it out on Twitter as well, more people than you're giving credit for are more than okay with this transfer.
Okay, so can I just confirm though? So those people that are saying that, when it all starts to go, if it all starts to go wrong again, because I heard all this last summer. I was called negative, toxic. I heard all this last summer when we signed Odobert, great signing. Werner, really good loan signing. Solanke, top footballer. I heard all this last year and the year before and the year before and the year before. I've heard all this for 40 years, right? If it doesn't go well again, are we going to stop doing the whole thing where we just blame Daniel Levy then? Like, I know that probably.
I'm 100% with you on the consistency thing. Like, I personally will hold the bag, and I will be muddied if I'm wrong on it. If he turns out to be an absolute stinker, I'll hold it. I can't speak for the people that taken the poll, because we know in this fan base, everyone moves the goalposts every 5 seconds. There's more flip flops than a Havaiana convention, right? It's insane. But I won't. Sure. But I would ask you guys the same thing. For those who haven't heard everyone else's opinion yet, so I'll shut up. But if everybody else on here or in the comments feels the same way as you do, Sav, that it's an underwhelming signing, if he comes out of the traps hot, if he gets 20 GA next season, I would hope that everyone will say, yeah, fair enough, got that one wrong. But there'll be some wiggle room on that as well, for sure.
Let me bring in some of the other guys. By the way, I'll say this again. My opinion on a player doesn't ever mean I want to be right. So if I turn around and say I'm underwhelmed by the signing, it doesn't mean I want him to do badly. I want him to come out of traps. I want him to get 20, 25, 30 goals. Cool, right? I'm just saying at the moment, it's another year where we've got Champions League football, and I wanted to see us go out and buy forwards for Champions League. I wanted us to go out and buy forwards where fullbacks shit themselves playing. the Mbuemos, the Ezes, the, experienced players. Now, that might still happen, but look, let me bring in some of the other guys. I think we're going to have a very mixed bag tonight on here. Lubo, you've got a different take on Tell completely, I think. Do you want to give us your Matisse Tell rundown?
Yes, I think that. So I've said all along that I didn't think it was the right signing for what we need now, because we need established players in the team. I did say that I think within a couple of, you can see there's a player in there. I saw him play for the French under-21s 2 or 3 months ago, and he looked mustard. So he hasn't recreated it apart from flashes for Spurs. Mm. Having said that, as well, I must add as well, and I keep repeating, and we've all said it, is it fair to judge any player over the last 2 years under Ange's system? I just think
does Ange's system, Lubo, does Ange's system stop the boy being able to cross a football or shoot or beat a man? I don't think it does it?
I just think, Sav, that if you bring any 19-year-old kid into a Premier League team for in any club, he should be with players hopefully who are good established pros, players who are playing in a proper system, who are playing well as well, that so he can integrate in, and he's not playing in a complete kamikaze waste of space. I mean, it was under 11 football we played for 2 years. So, the whole thing was wrong. Players didn't make the right runs. They weren't in the right position because they didn't start in the right position. The whole thing under Ange was disgraceful. I've never ever seen a manager set up in the Premier League like this guy. He was horrendous. Fine, brilliant. We won a trophy. I think the players had everything to do with that and not Ange, because you saw Maddison and Son on the bench last few minutes at Alkmaar just saying it's the same old shit. And after that, things started changing in Europe. So I don't think that was Ange. I think it was the players that sorted it out. So for me, we're in a situation now. I'm a Spurs fan. I want every player to do well. So although I don't think the money should have been spent specifically on Tell, because we should be getting at least 4 established players. Plus, if Basuma goes, we need another established. That's 5. Then if you've got Romero possibly going, then possibly you might have Son going. We're going to be short of established players. So for me, the money needs to be spent there rather than on a 19, 20-year-old kid. He may well be superb in 2 years' time. For me, I've seen flashes. He went down, he pissed past defenders against Brighton, put the ball on a plate for Johnson, who shot wide, went past 2 players at Fulham, beautifully put the ball into Solanke, put it wide.
Assist against West Ham. Great assist against West Ham.
Yeah, made that against West Ham. Took his goal very well at Villa Park. So there are little flashes. For me personally, was there enough to sign him? I don't think so, because as I said, I want more established players. But now he's here, I think let's just get behind him and let's just look at Kane and Bale at 19, 20 weren't the players that they grew into. So
sure, we're conflating 2 different arguments. When we talk about the age, we're conflating 2 different arguments.
We're too quick. We are too quick to write off. Can you imagine anybody listening in the comments? Would you want to be written off? Hang on, Sad. Would anybody here on the panel or watching the show want to be written off at 19, 20 for their future career? Come on, guys.
But Lubo, you're conflating 2 arguments. You're conflating 2 arguments. Again, people have got to listen to what's said. I've got no doubt it's the same with any 18, 19-year-old. What could they be in a few years' time? They could be brilliant. Sure. My argument, once again, is exactly the same argument that Danny and I sat it all last summer saying, didn't we, Dan? All last summer. I was bored of hearing, this kid's brilliant. This kid's going to be great in 2 years. And every Spurs fan told us, it's a youth project. We're brilliant. These players are great. And what happened in the season? But we've got loads of kids. We've got no experience. Shock. So my point is, Lubo, it's not that I'm writing him off now. Yeah. Brilliant. Bring him in, coach him. But most clubs are bringing in those players at 10, 15 million to coach them, getting them better. We keep bringing them in like we did with Archie Gray. We're spending 40 odd million on these youngsters, hoping to coach them better. And then we're not buying better players in their position. So I'll end it on this. Lubo, if he is our first team starter on the left-hand side next season, that is utterly appalling for a Champions League football club. Do you not agree? If he is the first,
I do, but he won't be. He won't be. My personal.
Ian.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as that, by the way.
That's what we're saying, isn't it? That's the problem. Is that I would say most of us on this panel don't believe we're now going to get an Eze Mbeumo or someone like that. So if we do, I don't think it will happen. I'm not saying we shouldn't. I'm not saying there shouldn't be money there. I'm saying that is now I'm now doubting whether that's going to be a possibility unless players are sold. So if we brought him in as an option in the squad, and you sound about underwhelming, if we was to have brought Mbeumo in or Eze in and then signed him, then everyone kind of goes, God, there's a bit of a squad being built there. It's exactly what I said about Brennan Johnson. A lot of people complained about Johnson being the first choice right winger. Right. Whereas if we go and sign Mbeumo and Johnson's now your backup, you go, oh, actually, that's.
Well, that might well happen though, right? We're clearly still.
The transfer window finishes September the 1st. You can't leave the decision on Tell.
Do you see us going to buy a 50-60 million pound left winger to start in front of Tell now? That's the question, isn't it?
No,
do you see us doing that?
A versatile winger that can do a bit of both.
Do you see us buying that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, but the Matisse Tell deal clearly was not something that started on Monday and was finished on Friday. That's been in negotiations for months. As that's going on, according to Sky Sports, who knows what the level of truth, but across all of the, Darren Lewis and all that, Tottenham are putting a bid for 70 for Mbeumo. Ben Jacobs the other night was saying that we're also looking at, for Mbeumo, we're also looking at Semenyo. We've been looking at Sane. It's clear we're also going for something else. And Eze obviously never leaves everyone's mouth. So I think that it's clear that we're going for another one. For me, I know we're not on that part of the conversation yet, but we've got 10 wingers at the club now, including Tell. We have to get rid of at least 4 or 5 of them to make room for someone else.
But the other part of that as well, what I was going to say is that if Ange was still here, he would have got slaughtered for signing Tell. But Frank's approved it. So this isn't just the Tottenham side. Well, Frank has said that he's happy for that to go ahead, and he's pushed ahead for that deal as well. So
in that aspect, then look at it this way.
Then have we not just signed another yes man to do everything that Levy says? Then
was Frank already bought in January? Was he already bought in January?
Exactly. No, but I'm saying
Luke, now. What I'm asking you, Luke, is do you reckon Frank was already signed in January?
Oh no.
No, right. Tell was. It was done. As all Tell had to do was make the decision whether he wanted to stay or not. That's why he stayed here on loan, because he weren't too sure about coming here. Stayed here, won the cup, and said, you know what? I'm going to get some game time here. I ain't going to get it at Bayern Munich because I ain't good enough to play for them at the moment, and I'm going to stay there. Can you say that one's down to Frank? I wouldn't say it is, but at least we haven't got a hit coach like Ange in there anymore. We've actually got a coach. So if there's anyone who's got a chance of establishing something from the player, Frank has got a much better chance than Ange has, as it showed, because Tell wasn't what we needed then, and Tell isn't what we needed now. Is he going to be good in this season? 3 years, 2 years, whatever? I think time will tell. Time will tell with that, literally, bar the comment on it. And Ian, when you come to do you want to be judged or whatever, mate, it's a dog-eat-dog world. I don't know what planet you're talking about, yeah, but if you are good enough or playing in that first 11, I couldn't care less whether you're 16. I couldn't care less whether you're 60. You're still getting paid Premier League football money. You're still getting paid to play in a first 11. I will judge you the same as everybody else. Or do you just want me to tap you on the shoulder and kiss you on the cheek and say, now, boy, it's okay when you're absolutely playing crap? They are all getting paid 50 to 150 grand in between that. So they all get judged the same. Like it or lump it. If it offends him, deal with it. I couldn't care less.
Disagree,
that is his job. That is his job. Yes, I do. I compare everyone who goes in that first 11 compared to the same. Because if you're good enough for that 11, then you are good enough to get judged as anyone else in that 11.
No, I think there's a slight difference.
I
genuinely agree with you about life on that way. But what I would say is, like, it's the Mikey Moore argument. Like, if you're old enough, if you're good enough, you're old enough. But once you're in the first team squad, then the manager has to make the decision based on what's best for the team, regardless of your age, right? So I 100% agree with you on that. But when it comes to like the players being judged by the fans and saying, you're 19, you've only had 30 games worth of experience versus someone that's had 300, there's a bit more leverage.
I'll go with you halfway on that one, Sean. That is one thing I can give a bit of leeway on, when you can tell it's a mistake that's made purely for experience. And there's many a time you can actually see that. So that one, I'll step back a bit and cut a bit of slack. But the rest of it, I expect him to be passing the same. I expect him to be crossing the same. I expect him to be having the same shots. If he is good enough for that first 11, whether it's Mikey Moore or whether it's Son or whether it's whoever, then they have to get judged the same as the rest. The only one you can give leeway on, I'll agree with you on that one, is experience. So what? So you're telling me now that all these young players, if they end up playing shit for half the season, oh no, they're only young, don't worry about it, they'll come good in 6 months' time. We don't judge them. We don't say that we need better players for that. How do you think that player feels when he plays 10 games straight and then gets dropped for an older player with more experience? Do you think that hurts him as well? I don't care about his feelings. If he's good enough to be in that first 11, supposedly, I will judge him the same.
Nothing to do with feelings. Player comes in, he's got to give his best.
You said, would they like it? I don't care if they like it or not.
Dan,
that's feelings. That's emotions.
You cannot turn around and expect a player to come in like Tell, start putting the ball away like Sonny has over. I mean, Sonny's 33. You know. That's
not what I said.
No, but what you're saying is that if a player comes in, he's expected to do the same. Sometimes
if he's in that first 11.
Right, but sometimes the other players around him will help integrate him into the team. His performances will improve as he gets into the team and as he gets used to playing in the team, in the system, at that speed, with those players. There's so many different variables.
How many games did he play last season and there was no improvement except that he scored a goal that he didn't even realise went in the back of the net because it rebounded off of him and a penalty?
Well,
so
Dan,
where's your excuse for that one then?
Dan, how different was he to anybody else?
So can I
if anything, I thought, let me just add one bit. I actually thought when I saw him on the ball, I mean, Tell could come good. Who knows? But I can only judge by what I see. And what I saw, I thought Odegaard had better games than Tell did. I thought Odegaard actually looked better on the ball than Tell did. And is Tell what we need now? We need an Eze. We need an Embremo. We need experience.
But give him a chance.
We've just got
just to add to something that you're saying at the moment.
You don't get many chances, Ian.
I concur what you're saying.
One of you.
I concur what Dan is saying, because at the end of the day as well, and I think people completely forget, we've got a squad that we've got to worry about how many foreign players we've got in the squad as well. So he's taken up a spot. He's taken up a spot as well. So again, you know, I don't care whether he's young, right? Like I said, when the person that is the first team gets injured, right, that backup that people are describing, Sean and Ian, right, that backup becomes the first team. Yeah. So then we're not gonna be like on him straight away. I'm sorry, because when you're putting your eye in the fire, you're in the fire, right? You either burn or you swim, and that's all I've got to say on this. You know what I mean?
This is the problem.
Here we go. Here we go. Let's hear the excuse for Ian now. Here we go.
Let me ask you a question, Alex. Let me ask you a question. You take a bird out. You take a bird out for the first time. Do you make a decision after 5 minutes?
Well, that's what Lady does with me.
Can I interject?
What the lady does.
Well, Ian, sometimes I have done, yeah.
Hang on, let me interject. Guys, I want to bring in the Dan list.
Sorry, I should say woman. Sorry.
Hang on, guys, one at a time. I want to bring in Dan list. Two, I just want to sit here and say, for all of Lubo's excuses, for all of this wait and see, don't judge, why'd you go in so tough on Daniel Levy then when he keeps buying players that you seem to like and want and give them all a chance?
Go on tough on Daniel Levy because he's not committed to the football club. That's why.
But he's buying Tell, who you like and want to give him a chance to. He bought Gray, who you want to give a chance to. He bought Bergvall, who you want to give a chance to. So if he's buying all these people that you're saying it's fine, there's no problems. When it all goes wrong, this is what I mean. When it all goes wrong, the same people that can't keep consistent. Me, I'm consistent at least, right? I'm saying I don't want Tell right now. Yeah, if he's good in 2 years, I'll hold my hands up and go, fair enough, he's brilliant. If Tell doesn't do well this year, you'll be one of the first people going, well, this is Daniel Levy. Levy doesn't back the managers. Levy doesn't. And this is the problem I have with it. So we have standards when it comes to Daniel Levy, but then when it comes to buying footballers, hang on, I'm still talking. Hang on, I'm still talking, right? So we're happy to have the standards when it's against Daniel Levy, but then when we buy these players, there's an excuse for every single one of them. For me, I don't want Gray. I don't want Tell, right? I don't want Odegaard. For me, I want to go out and buy established footballers. Then that is why I say, Levy, go and buy this. You want to have a go at Levy, but then you want to praise this model of just constantly buying these kids who aren't good enough or haven't demonstrated anything, then have a go at us saying, give them time, don't judge them too soon. Well, sorry, this is where I agree with Danny. If they are in that, if they've been bought for that Spurs first team, different with if Mikey Moore is coming out the academy, I get it. That's a guy you've got to give time to and you develop. And if you're spending 35, 45 million on this guy, I don't want to hear that he's 19, 20 because you've purposely bought him knowing he's 19, 20. You've purposefully bought him, Lubo, knowing you could go and get much better senior pros for 35, 40, 45 million. So which one is it? Are we ever going to go at Daniel Levy or do we like what he's doing? And then I want to bring Dan List in after Lubo.
They put a bid in for Mbuemo. So I'm looking at Lee's comment. Tell and Gray aren't good enough. 80 million down the drain. We could have signed Mbuemo for that. We have the money to buy all of them, Lee. And they put a bid in for Mbuemo. So let's see if Mbuemo joins. Let's see. I don't believe
we have put a bid in for Mbuemo. I'll be honest, because none of the Plettenbergs, Ornsteins, or Romanos have remotely touched the story.
Well, there's been. I'll tell you, Sav, there are people. Spurs announced transfers out the blue on plenty of occasions.
I hear you, but surely, if the three big guns out there in the world of transfer rumours and reports, not one of them has mentioned Mbuemo and Tottenham in the same. Not one of them. Sky have, but listen. Let me bring in the Dan List. We haven't spoken. Dan, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good.
Well, you just heard some craziness. So, what do you make of? Tell was always going to be a divisive one, right? This was never going to be the signing, Dan, that got us all singing "Kumbaya" together, was it?
Yeah, crazy. But it sounds like there's a lot more people who want him or happy with the signing, which I don't understand. I just don't understand. I was really disappointed to hear the news. He's the first signing. I mean, what's he going to do next season for us in the Champions League? How's he going to help us? Is he a game changer? No. I think it's just money down the drain. We need to be putting out on better players coming into this team. We desperately need some quality in that forward line. Nothing against the kid. Maybe he'll come good in a couple of years. And of course, he's here. I'll get behind him. I hope he'll prove me wrong. But it's just not good enough. You know, we need to be doing so much better than him. I didn't see enough for the time he was here to make any difference to us next season. Obviously, Frank might get more out of him with his coaching. He might find a good position for him in the team. But that signing is just here we go again, isn't it? I said I didn't want any more youngsters coming in this summer transfer window. We've got youngsters that we could bring into the team already, likes of Moore. Why can't we give them more of a chance and spend 35 million on Tell? I just really disappointed.
Must he be thinking, isn't it, Dan? What must Moore be thinking now?
Exactly. Yeah, I just disappointed, guys. And just a question for the panel. Sorry, Dan, what were you going to say?
No, I was just agreeing with you, basically. What must Mikey Moore be thinking right now?
He's very happy at the club, Dan.
Of course he is.
But it's blocking him, though, isn't it? It's blocking his pathway.
He's 17 years old.
He hasn't done anything to deserve his chance. Matisse Tell's done far more than Mikey Moore has.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? That's the problem.
I don't think Tell's
come in. How many goals come in and he's taking his chances?
How many goals has Mikey Moore scored?
Yeah, but Sean, Tell's come in and he's
a penalty and a tap in. I'm not really sure that counts, does it?
He's got three goals and 2 assists.
Yeah, but Sean, he's come in and blocked. He's blocked Moore's pathway, hasn't he? Tell coming in.
No, not necessarily. I think that Mikey Moore isn't ready yet, and I think that
I don't think he's ready yet. I
agree with that.
Can we assume here that Sonny's on the way out?
Yeah.
Would you rather Sonny be here next season or Matisse Tell? If you had to pick one,
I think that's terrible. I think that's terrible. I think neither. I'm sorry. I just think that.
So we're okay. So then
that's a fair question. I think that's a fair question. I mean, for me, Son needs to go, and he needed to go 2 years ago. I know a lot of people are emotional and loved up with him and don't want to let him go, but shit happens. Life goes on, and I agree with what you're saying there. But personally, maybe he's brought in for Tell. Maybe he's brought in Tell for Son for the long run. Maybe he's the one that they're looking at. They think can get good enough to take his place and whatever else. But I think the whole point of the situation comes down to we need things now. We need Eze's now. We need Mbuemo's now. We've got Champions League next season, and we can't afford to be having players like Yeah, we can't afford to have people like Tell coming in who are still young and improving, or having to rely on Archie Grays or Odeberts. Look what happened to that last season. We had to agree on that, where we had to rely on that, basically. That bit us in the arse quite nicely, didn't it? I think the only advantage we've got through getting someone like Tell at the moment is we actually have a decent coach.
But also,
time will show it, but we need ready players now. We need players that are established now. But I think this deal was made in January anyway, so I don't even really think it's anything to do with this transfer window. I think.
But that's what I'm saying. What happens if we get 30 million? Say the rumor is that we get 30 million for Son. In a, I know it doesn't work like this, but basically we've got rid of Son. We've brought in Tell for the same money, who's a 19-year-old, and his value's only going to get up, whereas Son's only going to go down. So in theory, we've basically swapped one out. And then again, it comes back to if we then now go and sign an Eze, a Semenyo, or someone like that, then I think this transfer's looked upon completely differently. I think you're right.
Hang on, but Luke, don't you think? Luke, I'll agree with you, right? Listen, for me, as I've said, if the Tell deal, by the way, I've not seen anything in him that makes me want him, but that's just my opinion. I've not seen many things in a lot of players that other people do, and that's life, right? If Tell comes in and is our number two, for lack of a better term, on that side, I'm cool with that. I mean, I'm cool with that, and you've got Frank in coach him. I'm just saying, if we start next season in the first Premier League game of the season, the first Champions League game of the season, we have a front three of Tell, Solanke, and Johnson or Odeber. I'm asking serious,
same, 100%, same.
Serious questions, right?
Same.
So my question is this:
that's clearly not the intention, though, is it?
No. Sean, I hope not. My point is this, Sean. Right? I think you've already brought in Odeber, who's a young winger with promise, potential. Chuck in whatever word you want into that bracket, right? If you're going to do the same with Tell on the left-hand side, my question is this. What top wide men or inside forwards, if Sonny goes, are these two learning from? That is my problem. If you've brought them in and they are your first choice, who are they watching in training every day and going, cool, look at the way he plays? Like,
an Mbeumo or an Eze, right? Perfect.
Right. So if that happens, Sean, I then come back on here and go, cool, don't really rate Tell, but cool. He's not the first choice. He learns, he grows, and
similarly, if it doesn't happen, I come back on here and go, absolute disgrace to get Matisse Tell as our only recognised winger for the summer transfer window. 100%.
Absolutely. So that's where I will meet in the middle. But I also take Lubo's point, what he's been saying the last couple of days. Lubo, we talk a lot, and I have said this to you. I get it. If this is budget that was already, assigned in January, and this doesn't affect this summer's budget, fine, do it. Don't have to rate the signing, but it's now, what do we do moving forward? But if we don't get an Mbeumo, right? If we don't get a Grealish, whoever, buzzword, whichever name you want in there, if we don't get them, and we're starting with a front four of Johnson, Odeber, Solanke, and Tell and Solomon, if that's the five options you've got, then you've got to turn around and go, nothing has changed at this football club. Well, if that is the five forwards for Champions League football, that's horrific.
That's why Solomon has to be sold, and anyone who thinks that he should come back and get a start because he's got 20 GA in the Championship is, in my mind, I don't know what they're smoking, but give me some, because I want to
Does anyone want to finish up on Tell before we move to Solomon? Does anyone want any last thing on Tell?
I don't agree with that, because like I said, right, even if you get an Mbeumo, Eze, Grealish, whatever, right, and you're just bringing in Tell just to sit on the bench, no.
Well, you've got four competitions, Alex, haven't you? You've got
that's not competition,
because 60 games next year.
But whether you've got four competitions or not, the players should be wanting to compete. That's the point. We've been moaning, how many years now, saying, why have we got this player? Why have we got this player? They're backups. They're this, they're that, they're this, they're this. Okay, so cool. I understand where we are as a football club for players, but I'm sorry, but we need to change this attitude. If you want a team that are competitive, you need people to compete, and I'm going to stick by that until it's blue in the face, until people get sick of me saying it. So I'm sorry, I'm not all right with Tell sit on the bench taking his wage. No, I'm not.
Alex,
I'm not happy.
Alex, we're not the draw.
No one's going to answer the question when that player Mbeumo, Eze, or Grealish gets injured. What happens to that?
Okay, so Alex, hang on. Let me try and mediate this. Right, I hear you. You want 2 players in every position that we go, wow, we're brilliant, like Man City can do.
Not like that.
Yes, you do.
Not like that. No, I didn't say that.
It's better.
Let me finish.
Can I just say something?
I
Can I
think
just say
that's what
something?
you mean.
Does it mean? I didn't mean like that. I mean players that are maybe, yeah, fair enough. Tell might not be quality enough, but to me, Tell doesn't look like a guy that is wanting to compete to be the top man.
So Alex, my point was this. So let's assume, and like Sean said earlier, the name that everyone can't get out their lips, can't get away from their lips. Will Smith will be really unhappy with this. Is Eze, right? So let's say we sign an Eze. Who else do we want to sign on the left-hand side that is comparable with Eze, maybe a little bit less, that comes in? Because now we're talking about 70 million for Eze. You're talking about 50, 60 million for a player comparable with Eze. Are we saying that we want to go out on the left-hand side and spend 120, 130 million on left-sided players?
Well, no,
so here's my compromise with Tell, by the way. This is me trying to compromise.
No,
are you going to get Grealish and Eze, for example?
No,
Alex?
no, I'm not asking for that. I'm asking for somebody that, to me, at the moment, I would take somebody that is youngster, maybe saying, I'm not happy to sit on the bench and just watch this guy. I'm learning off him. I'm sitting there saying, I'm learning from him, but then I want to compete with you to take your place, mate, if you're not playing well.
But Tell sat on the bench at Bayern and came to Spurs because he didn't want to sit on the bench.
Yeah. He hasn't come here to sit on the bench.
What even is Tell?
What good has that done? What good has that done?
Inside forward.
After we've seen him the last 6 months, what good has that done?
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I haven't seen a huge amount. I can't sit here and say I've seen this, I've seen that. I think he will become a good player in a couple of years. I think Frank will be able to nurture him. I think we'll be playing a formation that will potentially suit him slightly better. And I think he'll be played in a position that he's actually used to playing, in that inside forward. Even playing for a Bayern Munich team, even if he is on the left wing, he's going to be brought inside more. He's going to be closer to the goal, and that's where he does well. So
Luke, what does that formation look like? Luke, what's that formation look like?
I think we'll play 4-2-3-1. I think we'll have the wing backs going wide. We'll have the DMs that will just be sitting a bit closer to the centre backs, therefore allowing the width to come from the fullback. So therefore he's closer to the goal. A bit like what we say with Sonny. Everybody says Sonny's not a winger. He can't be a winger. Why is he a winger? He's an inside forward. I think Tell is exactly the same thing. I
can agree with that. Question I got for you though: how many games do you give a player before you start judging them?
Good question.
It comes in spat. If we were sitting, if we'd have finished 4th this year and it'd have come into a team that's on a roll,
that's got nothing to do with the time of day. I couldn't care less whether we could have, should have, or whatever. The question was, how many games do you give a player before you start judging him?
I think it's all circumstantial. As I said, if you're bringing in a
circumstantial, whether he plays 5 games or 10 games.
Whether he plays 5 games, whether he plays 10 games, whether he's playing in a team.
How many would you usually start judging a player on?
I'd say if you're getting a teenager from another country that's never played in this country, he at least needs 6 to 12 months before you can start saying no, we shouldn't. Yes, we should.
That's and how many minutes does he get? If he gets 10, games,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's so circumstantial.
He gets 10 minutes.
Yeah. So how many would you usually judge him on? What would you usually judge a player on? The amount of games? I mean, we can only go by what we see. If he only plays 1 game, you can only sort of judge him on 1 game, and that's not exactly fair. But if you see someone put it over the bar 4 times in their first game, you're going to judge them. When they cost 30, 40, 50 million,
1,500 minutes of football is
the price of them as well. You judge them, don't you? So how many games has Tell actually played for us then?
He played 30 games or 28 games, I think it was in total.
20, Sean, 20.
Okay, 20. So am I now fair if I judge him on 20 games?
I think that is.
How many minutes did he get? Games is irrelevant. You need to get minutes.
I've got a question.
Because I'd say 20 games is quite fair to judge someone on what I've seen, and I didn't see a very good player there in 20 games.
But who did you say? Who did he play well in those games?
I thought Odegaard played better than Tell, and that's not a compliment.
Well, but Odegaard didn't get that many. But I've got no problem with it if that's the case. I quite like Odegaard. I think he's also another one that I'm excited about.
I think he looks more. I think Odegaard looked more stable on the ball when I've seen him play. I think he looked more willing to take his man on and more capable of doing it as well. Tell, out of the games he played in that, and when he did play, and when I watched him play, I just really saw nothing. I didn't see
nobody else gave a shit. The amount of times that I would see him running down blind alleys, pressing the life out of the right back, chasing it hard, and then he win the ball, turn around, and there was nobody near him because
And the amount of times he had the option to take his man on, and he still turned around and passed it backwards, just like the others, just like Johnson. The only one who actually tried taking him on, there was two of them really, and that was Werner and Odegaard. Not
in the Premier League. In the Premier League, he played 72% of minutes available to him. So that's
a fair amount,
guys.
I've got a fair amount to judge him in, isn't it? That's a fair amount to judge someone.
4 games in the league.
Guys,
listen, I'm going by Transfer Market, and they're saying he made 13 appearances in the Premier League. He played 72% of minutes. 79% was starting 11, and a 19% goal participation.
As Sean said, that starting 11.
I've got the program here. It says it's saying he's only started 4 games.
But that starting 11 in a backup 11.
In total.
Right. Let me ask a question.
I don't believe that's true. I don't believe he's only started 4 games with Tottenham Hotspur.
He played 90 minutes against Wolves. He played 90 minutes against Forest. He played 90 against West Ham, Palace, Villa.
Wolves 3.
Right, one of you.
Yeah, I can do it, Luke, but it's fine. He did. This is the Premier League for Tottenham last season. 90 against Manchester United, 90 against Wolves, Forest, West Ham, Palace, and Villa. So six 90 minutes. He got an 83-minute against Brighton, a 77-minute against Fulham, and then Ipswich and Man City. He got a good chunk of an hour, and then the other couple he got like barely anything at all. So he actually played the vast majority of minutes in the Premier League when he came in. He did, so he got 913 minutes in the Premier League. There you go, 913 out of 13 games. Not bad.
That's 10 games. That's 10 games.
So I'd say that's a fair amount to have a judge on someone of how good you think they can be, might be, or are at the time. Can he come good? I think with Frank, if anyone can get something out of him, Frank has got a much better chance than Ange. I mean, Ange actually regressed every player we had, bar 2 of them. So it's not even going to be a hard job that he's got. But I think Frank can actually get him doing something. It's just the question is, he's not what we needed now. And from what I saw over the amount of times I saw him play, I saw Odegaard take his man on more times than Tell. I see Odegaard actually beat his man. Might have only been once or twice, but more than Tell did. And Tell, he doesn't exactly look capable in the box. He might end up brilliant, but I can only go by what I see.
I agree on the pillow feet shooting thing. I think he got a bit of a rush to the head thing. But the only, I don't disagree with anything you're saying, Dan. The only caveat that I'm going to say it again until someone at least acknowledges it, unless you all think it's just a silly moot point. But I think that if you're going to judge a player, you also have to bake in the context, right? It's not an individual sport; it's a team sport. And if nobody else was giving a shit in those games, doesn't that also impact the ability for someone to stamp their mark?
But it doesn't.
If the whole team's playing crap, it's going to drag the whole team down, isn't it? Like even a player that's doing well, I get that, but I still saw nothing special off him.
Guys, can I ask a question?
I watched him at Bayern as well. Sorry, go on, Dad.
Yeah, I've just been trying to ask it for a bit. Look, for the people who are quite happy with Tell to come in, yeah, maybe looking forward to him coming in. I don't know. You maybe rate him, whatever. That's fine. That's your opinion, right? We all see things differently, right? When we're watching football, but wouldn't you rather go to West Ham and put it down on somebody like Kudus? Yeah.
He's never going to come to Tottenham. West Ham don't deal with Tottenham.
Just an example, Sean. A better player.
A lot of West Ham fans don't want Kudus. They're happy to take 50,
okay.
60
No,
million.
hang on, guys. You've jumped on Dan. You've jumped on Dan with. Yeah, let him.
Let me finish. Yeah, that's just an example. Wouldn't you prefer to go out and put that money down on a better left winger?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
So this is why it's just a letdown.
But we don't know what's coming. That's why I said it at the start. It's all about
Luke,
what we get at the end.
I don't want him on the left. I want better. Like Alex is saying, Savva, Dan, I want better than him.
Everyone just said that though. Everyone said if we go in to start and tell on the left.
Why are you accepting it, Sean and Luke? Why are you accepting it?
I'm not. It's not
accepting it. One of them are better.
You're not going to have. You're not going to have world-class players. You're not going to have world-class players in every position twice over.
World-class. I didn't say world-class.
If what you're saying. I don't know, what is the benchmark of better than £60 million? The idea, I believe that the idea, and like I said, I've already said to Savva, if it turns out that Matisse Tell is our starting left winger next season, and the person that rotates in with him is Richarlison or Solomon, then yeah, I've got a massive issue with that. But if the idea is for him to come in, for Sonny to be sold, for Solomon hopefully to be sold, in my opinion, for Mikey Moore to go out on loan, to get these 10 wingers we currently have down to 5, and then bring in someone else on the left-hand side like an Eze that can also... And if Tell does accelerate and become a cracking player, then he can command minutes, and then Eze can step into the 10 at the start of the season when Maddison and Decky are out injured, etc. Then I'm okay with I'm okay with that scenario. I'm not okay with the scenario of Matisse Tell being the starting option off the left. But if we're saying that you want 2 players that are better on the left-hand side, I think that there's not enough budget, just the reality of the situation, to be able to do that and improve on the right and improve in the 6 and get a left-sided centre-back and potentially a new striker.
Sean, you look at players, right? You go over all different positions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have you seen a better left winger at a good price, a good price? Have you seen a better option than Tell?
For 30 million quid? I mean, it's all and a young player or an old player. I don't think you're going to get an established player that's 24, 25 who's 30 million quid who is better. No, I think if you want someone that's of that sort of price range, I think you're probably going to have to go young, and then there's that risk. And yes, there's loads of them out there. There's wingers are 10 a penny. They are 10 a penny. For me, though, I think I've said it for years. If you want a player that can come in that isn't going to cost you 80 million quid, that can do everything that a Semenyo can do, and if I'm honest, can do it in the 10 and on both sides, Pedro Gonçalves from Sporting. Like, he's a player that I think is just out of this world, and I'd love to see him in the Premier League. But
he's a stat machine, Sean. He's
insane. He's insane.
Even then, you're looking at players like Buena, right? You're looking at players like Sanse of Bilbao. Look, there's players all over. I get it. Listen, I think this is definitely going to be one of those guys, isn't it, where we're all going to have to wait and see. As I said, the only way I'm happy to accept it is if we go and bring in a better forward line. As I said, I don't want to see Tell and Odegaard or Johnson as our wingers starting next season. If we do, I think it's been a poor transfer window. I think if we're going into Champions League football with Johnson or Odegaard on the right and Tell on the left, then it hasn't worked. But maybe, and before we move on to Manuel Solomon, maybe we're going to play 3 at the back. And our width is going to come from the full back, so maybe a Johnson or a Tell ends up being a support striker for Solanke. As you're I don't know. I'm just throwing out different scenarios. But listen, for me, it's meh. Listen, I don't want to be negative about it. I've not ever watched him, even when I watched him for Bayern Munich. I've never watched him and gone, wow, I love that guy. I really want him at Spurs. There's much better players if you scout Europe. It felt lazy. It felt like it's all to do with the Harry Kane money. And as I said earlier, if somebody had said to you 2 years ago that we're going to sell Harry Kane for 40 million plus Matisse Tell, people would lose their minds. And essentially, that's what we've done. I know people, whichever way you want to divvy it up, that's what we've done. We've sold him for 40 million and then got Matisse Tell 2 years later to offset the money that they owe us. So
we didn't spend 60 million quid on Matisse Tell.
We've spent
45 short.
Works out about 45.
We've spent 45, and then they gave us 45 apparently up front. So that's the bulk of 90 of what they paid us, right?
We owed the maximum. I'm sure Harry Kane is going to tick all the boxes on the performance-related pay because he scored 80 goals or whatever.
No, I agree with that. And they've won the league.
Package of 103 million quid.
Okay, 103 million. So we've sold him for 40, and we've got 45 of that. Okay, let me change it up.
60 million and Matisse Tell, yeah.
So if we said 60 million and Matisse Tell, people would have lost their mind. People would have lost their mind 2 years ago.
I hear you on that, but he had a year left on his contract and he forced the issue. I don't disagree, by the way, about that. I completely agree with you about the fact that it was probably an easy deal because Bayern Munich was saying we haven't got the cash. Can we figure out something else here? I think that's definitely 100%.
I just think for me, it's just listen. I want to move on to Manuel Solomon because I just feel like again, it's just really lazing to non-existent scouting. I think if you actually scour the Italian league where they're broke, if you scour the Dutch league, the Spanish league, the French league, there's good young wingers. You don't even have to be young. There's good wingers all over the place. And it just feels to me that, again, this for me feels like this should be a £15 million signing. Like, you know, when Brighton go and get them and Brentford go and get them, we go, oh, who's that? Never heard of him. And you don't hear from them for a year. They're sent out on loan, 15 million, and then they sell them for 70, 80. I just feel like we've done exactly this year with Tell what we did last year with Gray. and that's fine. But we seem to be the only club that keep doing it with these teenagers. We keep buying them at that price.
Well,
and for me, it's just I don't know why we're doing that when Man City have just gone out and bought Reinders for less than we've paid for Matisse Tell. They bought Hang on, they bought 8 Nuri for less than we paid for Matisse Tell and Gray.
He's a fullback. Hang
on. Yeah, but Reinders is not a fullback. Reinders is a quality central midfielder. They've just bought Rayan Cherki, who's quality, for less money than we paid for Matisse Tell. So, we'll say, these clubs just spend and spend and spend. They're finding players who are senior pros, right? Good to go, 200 odd appearances behind them, paying 35, 40 million for them. We're going out and doing it 2 windows in a row, by the way. But I know Sean will have a pop at me and say, well, Tell's not a teenager. He's 20, 3 or 4 days ago, whatever it was. But we're getting these young players for more money than Man City are paying for senior pros.
Yeah, so on that, just as a counter to that argument, right? For all of those top quality players that are out there, like Reinders, like Cherki, that seem to be available for really decent value, Tottenham are not the only team. Like, you've seen it, right? If you give any credibility to any of the transfer rumours that are ever out there in the various journals, if Tottenham are interested, as are United, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, City, Newcastle, it's the same story every time. But Bakayoko, right, at PSV Eindhoven, cracking player. I would have liked him. If we can get if he can come for 40 million quid, you know that someone else has got a bigger draw than Tottenham are also going to go in there for 40 million quid.
I understand that, but I'm looking at last season when Danny and I were talking about this, and I don't want to bring it back to Archie Gray, but I have to. When we were talking about the money that was spent on Archie Gray last summer, Sean, there were midfielders much better than Archie Gray, 3 or 4 years older, hundreds of appearances under them, same sort of salary.
Now.
Like Fofana, like Kone, like the other one, like Thuram, and we're thinking, come on, can we do that? And I feel like it's the same thing again this year. Winger, I feel like there are players out there, mate, that we could.
The other thing is,
I agree with you.
We're also looking at Polini from Roma. Now, I watched him play a couple of times last season, and definitely looks like there's a good player there. That's another young player. That's another what is he? 19, coming on 20, something along those lines.
Who's the player?
I think he's
Polini
20,
from Roma.
20,
yeah.
21.
I think he's about 19, 20. Either way,
Pisili, yeah?
Yeah, if that's how you say his name. I'm not very good at pronouncing names.
Pisili.
How many more young players are we going to go for? The question is, I don't think it's that anyone's got a problem with buying a young player or two, and I'm sure that most of us can agree that Tell can improve, and we've actually got a bit of positive side on it because we've got a manager a coach now that has proved he can improve players, whereas we had a manager that proved he regressed the whole team bar 2 players. So we know there's a chance there and there's a positive side to it. But why do we need more Archie Grays? Why do we need more Odeberts? Why do we need more Polini's coming in? Why do we need more Tells? Why has this whole team got to be based on 18 to 20-year-olds? We need established players now. That is what we need.
I think the basis is that they're doing it because they've got this model that they want to carry on with, Dan, and which I can't really. I'm not going to argue with it anymore because I can't. There's nothing really else to say on it because they're going to continue regardless. My argument is at the moment, for the people that are making excuses for this at the moment, right? If this is for the Kane thing, right, to offset the Kane thing, would it make sense to go for a Paulinho, right? Okay,
absolutely.
Fix your problem in number 6, right? Because I think that's a good trade rather than getting Telling, right? Yeah. Which, let's be honest here, again, I'm sticking to the point, like, again, it's just the backup. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't really like to hear the thing about, he could be good in another couple of years. He could get injured the whole season like bloody Kulusevski was the whole season. You know what I mean? And then where's your potential then? You know what I mean? So, like, and then you're basing it on Thomas Frank coaching him. Right? When is he going to have time to do that when we've got Champions League to focus on? Yeah? What if we do really badly at the start of the season? Are you going to start putting your chips on bloody Matisse Tell to do something wonderful then? You know what I mean? or just put a shot in the top corner or something
Hopeful.
like that.
Very hopeful.
You know, it's just this hope, and hope is nothing to me. You know what I mean? Hope is nothing. Yeah, we are European champions. We are European champions. So you know, you got to give that, hold that, Arsenal. Anyway, moving on. But the point is, though, yeah, right, is that I'm sorry, this is hope, and I'm sorry, we're doing this again, Tottenham fans. We're being Spursy, and we didn't want to be Spursy because we're supposed to be European champions. What is that? What is that? You know what I mean?
I think we're massively putting the cart before the horse here. It's not the window doesn't even open until tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
we're already writing off the entire
What is the
window.
bloody transfer budget?
Here we go.
Anybody
Here we
know?
go. Transfer window hasn't opened,
What's
so we
the
don't.
bloody
We're
transfer
going off,
budget?
man.
Dan.
Guys,
Go on,
what's
Dan.
the transfer budget? Anyone know? 200 million,
No,
150 million, 100 million?
Who knows?
I think it's 100 million quid without sales, or like 80.
Yeah,
to 100 without
I
sales.
agree, Sean. I think it's 100 plus what we sell. But Dan, this money, the Tell money, isn't coming out of this budget. Out this budget, this will come out of what should have been future earnings. So
Correct.
Bayern Munich were meant to be paying us in installments over the next. I'm making this up. It could be 2 years, could be 4 years. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
Means is that, as far as I'm aware, somebody cleverer than I am might make me wrong here. Is that will just come off from what Bayern owe us?
Sure.
That will Bayern Munich owe us money. That comes away. So in essence, I get it, right? I get it. As I've said, I'm comfortable with it. If we go and buy a left-sided forward that starts above him, I do not want to start day one. I'll say this over and over again. First game of the season, I don't care. Wolves at home, Wolves away, whoever we're playing. It'd be weird if it is Wolves now, wouldn't it, when the fixtures come out? If we're playing that game and I see Matisse Tell and Odegaard Johnson on the wings and Solanke's up top, we know we are not serious. We know we have not had a good transfer window. So if he is the second string player, and he's going to be coached, he's going to play in cup games, and he's going to get 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, and Frank's going to coach him. Cool. I sit back and I'm calm about it. So I'm not losing my mind about it. The window has just opened. I do want to ask a question, right? And this question is going to come after I've done some super chats. So I'll leave it on a cliffhanger. Big up to Neil, THFC, Thomas. Big up to you, Neil. Really appreciate that. Thank you for becoming a member. This week we saw our first member-only show. Which means we'll be having another one next week. So look out for that, my friends. Everyone's welcome to come on, have their say without trolls and without worrying about the internet seeing all of what we talk about. So big up to you, Neil. Thank you very much for that. And also to Kofi Nero. Big up to you, Kofi. Really appreciate that. Same thing I just said. Look out for the channel member only shows. Really appreciate all of my members. So thank you very much. G Giant 68 and his hat and his dog in a beanie has given a super sticker. Thank you very much for the super sticker. Really appreciate you, my man. Big up to Sanctuary of 7 out there in Ireland. Said, by the way, Alex, Mora got us to the Champions League final with a little face plant. Blah, 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 blah. Big up to you.
Is that what happened to him in the end, Alex? Was that the answer to your question? What happened to he got us to the Champions League final?
What happened afterwards?
Moving on.
Where did he go? I forget.
He's playing for Sao Paulo in Brazil. I had an ACCA last year, and I needed Sao Paulo to score a goal to win like 300 quid, and it came in because Lucas Moura scored a penalty. Buzzing. I loved Lucas Moura. That
winger.
Big up to you, Sanctuary of 7. Big up to Phil Coys, who's been a member for 11 months, and this is the guy who wanted Tell more than anyone I know. I said, we are forgetting Tell came into a team low in confidence. Frank improves Tell no end. Now he is officially a Spurs player. You'll see a different Tell. I hope so, mate, because he came into a low confidence thing. Doesn't change his control of a football, doesn't change his ability to beat a man, doesn't change his ability to cross, and doesn't change his ability to shoot. Yeah, I understand that a lot of other things do, but the internet went. We're back. Big up to Danny Kiriakou, the absolute Danny Kiriakou. Big up to you, mate. I said, are we forgetting Son's first? Oh, I hate it when we judge one player against another like this. Are we forgetting Son's first season rubbish? He was 22 or 23 when he joined. Tell has something, and with coaching, as everyone is preaching with Frank, sure, but I don't think anyone's arguing that he could get better. I think what they're arguing, Danny, is that we want to see some players for now. Like every time we get a young player, all I see is, but do you remember Kane? But do you remember Bale? These players are anomalies. These players are anomalies. For every Kane and Bale, There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of examples when it's not worked, but I do see a point. Thank you, Danny. Really appreciate you for that. And Ryan Trastain's coming with a couple. He said, I did not want Tell as long as Frank gets the players he wants, then as fans, I don't think we can complain. Fair enough. As long as we win games, just my opinion. Absolutely. It's up to Frank now to coach him. And he said, how was the missus' birthday? And how did your barbecue go? Won't go anywhere with Tell. He's not going to help us. And Buemo in with Eze in, please, would be great. Well, listen, if we're a proper club, we'll go and get Buemo on the right, Eze on the left, and have Odegaard and Tell behind them. If we're a proper club, why not do something like that?
What happens to Johnson, Rishi, Decky?
Don't care. Move them on. Upscale. Get better. Do better. This is the thing. If we want to compete on all four fronts, if we want to be a Champions League football team, no time for sentiment for me.
How much do you think Johnson's worth right now? He's got 23 goals, a Europa League winner. I'm not sure if he did or not, but I think the goal was given to him. How much?
40.
I reckon we get 40 or 50 for him for the fact that he scored 18 last season.
I don't think he's going anywhere, by the way.
Nor do I. But what you want to do is bring in a right winger that takes that place, and then Johnson has to come back to the subs bench basically because the person we bought is better. Exactly. And then you keep on improving it like that, basically, instead of just bringing in a player that isn't necessarily even good enough to get into the first team. We need players that walk into that 11 now. We need to buy at least 3 players that walk into that first 11. Not just one player in 2 years that actually gets into that first 11 straight away.
Let me finish my super chats things, and sorry, a big up to Emma Morton to finish them off. Thank you very much, Emma. Really appreciate the super sticker there. Thank you very much. You've been very vocal in the group lately, so welcome to the channel. Thanking you, guys. Listen, for me, as I say, I don't have sentiment to these players. Someone came in and I woke up tomorrow and found out that Brennan Johnson had been sold, or Solanke. I have no issue with that at all. Not 1% of me would go, oh, what? I'd be like, yeah, good. Move them on. Bring better players in. I want to ask you guys, though, about Solomon. Manor Solomon is one that in the last 48 hours, there's a lot of talk that he's going to be assessed by the club. He's going to come back. He's not leaving, and that they're at least going to give him some pre-season to see how he goes. I'm going to ask this question as I shamelessly go to get some food before I come back, and I'm sure I'll come back to a blazing row, which is what we need. What is it that makes them think that Tell at 45 million is better than Manor Solomon? What's Tell better at Manor Solomon then? I'll leave you with it.
It depends what you want the player to do. If you want an inside forward, then you're obviously looking towards Tell. If you actually want a winger, which we haven't got, you need someone who can cross a ball, and Solomon can actually cross that ball. The only other one we've got who can regularly cross the ball, we know that, is Porro. That's why Son was never a winger. He can't cross the ball for shit. His passing ain't great either. He's an inside forward, where Solomon can actually cross that ball. So again, it's all going to come down to how Thomas Frank wants to play the game, what formation he wants to use. What does he want his wingers to do? Is he going to have his wingers out wide to cross the ball in, like he has done with a lot of games with Brentford? Or is he going to use it as more as the wing backs we've got and then use it inside forwards, whatever? I think it all depends on what the manager actually wants. If we want someone who can cross a ball, Solomon and Porro are about the only two we got that can do it.
Look, Solomon, he done well in the Championship, didn't he? Playing for Leeds, he's got good stats. But how does that translate in the Premier League? And at the end of the day, Frank's going to have a look at him, isn't he? And then make a decision. I mean, again, we need to do better. But look, we can't change everyone, can we? So
he's one that brings in money, isn't he? He's one that brings in money. You know that you're going to get 15, 20 million for him.
Yeah,
he wants to have a go, though, doesn't he?
He's pure profit, right? He's pure profit on the FFP and the PSR thing, which, you know, I don't really want to get into the conversation of like, oh, what's the amortized value and stuff, because if you do that, you have to factor in all the previous 4 years of amortization. But there is the argument, if you want to do it that way, that if you sell him for 20, you can then push out 100 million quid over a 5-year contract, and it work out that way in terms just from an amortization perspective. And Tottenham haven't got the cash flow to do that, but just on that argument, there is that point of the context that needs to be baked in. For me, like people that go, oh, he did it in the Championship, therefore it's going to translate. Or did he do it in the Premier League? Yeah, he scored 2 goals against Burnley. The only 2 goals he scored for Tottenham were against Burnley. And what were they? Well, they were a Championship team that came up and went straight back down again and coming straight back up again. The only thing that he has proven that he's any good at is doing very well against Championship level opposition. Like,
And
I'm fine. I'm fine if Thomas Frank wants to bring him and have a look. Of course, that's fine with me. But if he ends up in the club's squad, first of all, he's foreign, right? So it doesn't help our homegrown, all that stuff. And second of all, it's in a position that we're all dying, demanding for improvements in. Solomon was the bottom of the pecking order last year. He was the guy that was loaned out when other people hung around, and now people are saying bring him back because he's the best we have. Based on what? A championship level thing? I think that's just such a specious reasoning. Like,
no, I don't think so.
And on top of, hang on, one last thing. On top of that, you need to create space in the squad. You can't sell Decky, he's injured. You're not going to be able to sell Maddison, he's injured. Richie is the biggest cop block in Tottenham's history. He refuses to go when no one wants him. No, I don't think there's anyone in the fan base that really wants him. Fucking go outside, mate. I've got a girl coming round. Little bro, go and play skateboard with your friends. I got a bird coming round. He won't go. He will not go. Right? And so, where do you find the space to bring in Semenyo, Mbumo, Eze, whoever? You need these people to leave.
Even the GA argument that everybody comes out with. Dan James got 21 in the Championship this year. So we're not talking about players that it's not like all of them are in elite level. Josh Brownhill for Burnley got more goals and assists this year in the Championship. So the whole GA argument in the Championship, for every Eze and Grealish that have played in the Championship, as Sav mentioned earlier, there's hundreds of players that have played well in the Championship. And as you say, he's never done really anything in the Premier League. And we keep saying that we need to bring in players that improve the 11. They have to improve the 11. And then we're bringing in a squad option at best. It just don't make any sense to me.
But Frank wants to see him in pre-season though, Luke. And that's the problem at the end of the day. You know what I mean? It's like either he's trying to please everybody because they've lost their one and only lovely manager that got them the Europa League, Angepostecoglou, or
he wanted him out.
I just don't understand because, like I said, for me, I think I can concur what my learned friend Sean just said. You know what I mean?
Oh.
He's just, my lovely friend Sean. Sorry.
I prefer learned. I prefer learned. You can call me learned instead. It's fine.
Yeah. Sean said everything he said. Because I don't really get it. And where are you going to fit everybody? Fit new players in the squad that we need upgrades in our winger position. Let's be honest here. You know what I mean? Because none of our wings are going to frighten the opposition. None of them. You know what I mean? Either you're playing wing backs, which I think is better because I'd rather have Porro as a wing back because Porro on his day is the best crosser we've got all day, every single day. Right?
Easily.
He's a creative monster that was just unutilized under the last manager. Right, I do apologize to those people that want to talk about him, but we have to do that. So, but I just need to, I don't know. Someone take it over because I've lost my train of thought.
I thought we were going to hear. That's it. I'm done. Didn't hear it. Then didn't hear it. I heard it for ages.
I'm done. Back to you, Sav. By the way, Sav, I've just been making lists.
Right.
Let's talk about non-homegrown or non-club trained players.
Sure.
At the moment, definitely, you're looking at 10 out of 17. So I've given Vicario, Tell, Udogi, Bergvall. Mind you, would Bergvall wouldn't count. He's under 21, or does he?
No.
I don't know. All right, including Bergvall, Porro, Odebear, Sarr, Bentancur, Kinski, Van der Ven. Other non-homegrown players, Dragusin and Kula are out for months, so they won't be in the initial squad. And the players, the non-homegrown players with question marks against them, Sonny, Richie, Basuma, Romero, Davis, I don't think he's homegrown in Europe, and Solomon. And I'm not including Yang because I reckon he'll go out on loan, and the other boys coming back, Phillips, Donnelly, Lancashire, Scarlett's back. They're all English anyway. Keeley, Gunter, etc. So at the moment, and the only homegrown stroke club trained players we've got here at the moment so far, we've got Danso, Gray, Madison, Johnson, Spence, Solanke, and Austin. So at the moment, we've just got 10 with question marks on 6 and 2 long-term injuries. So you would expect, we're hearing Basuma is wanted by Jose. We're hearing Son's also wanted by Jose. Son's wanted by Saudi. Richie's wanted by Everton. Romero's wanted by Atletico. Davis is wanted possibly by Wrexham. Solomon's wanted by Leeds. So there's going to be a lot of ins and outs over the next 11 weeks. That's for sure. So I think we're... Listen,
are you using this as a way to say that Solomon should stay because we will have space for more foreign players?
No. What I'm saying is, I'm talking macro, not micro here. I'm talking the big picture. Is there are going to be a lot of ins and outs. I trust Frank knows what he's doing in terms of his talent ID. I think he's got a very good talent ID. I think we've all agreed that we're all happy we've got this manager in now. So I trust him to look at the players that are there, see them in matches. You know, we've got Bayern Munich, we've got Newcastle, we've got Arsenal before we play PSG. So, you know, and apart from Luton, we'll probably give the kids a run out, I would have thought. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, it's going to be interesting if we all reconvene first Sunday of September after the transfer window is finished. You know, and we're looking at where we are, and what we've done, and where we've been, and so on and so forth. So, you know, and if Frank wants to have a look at players like Solomon, then fine. You know, listen, he's on the books. He wants to have a look at him. Let him see.
Do you want to keep him? Do you want to keep Solomon?
Personally, let's see how he does pre-season. He didn't get much of a chance.
Do you want to keep him?
I'm answering you. He played 4 or 5 games for Spurs at Premier League level before he got injured.
Yeah,
he's played a season in the Championship. I have no idea if he's up to it or not. I couldn't tell you. Is the honest answer. Do I want to? I'd like Frank. Obviously, I'm trusting Frank to have a look at him and see if he thinks he's good enough for Premier League.
So Ian, you're saying that basically where he's played in the Championship, you can't really judge whether he's good enough for the Premier League.
Listen, it's good that he's had a good season. You know, we've looked at players like Scarlett, who's been to places like Oxford and Lancashire at West Brom, and we're all quick to say, God, what a load of crap doesn't even get in the team. Well, listen, by the same token, when a player does get in, they do well. We've also got to recognise that as well. So he's playing well. He's in form.
No, but doesn't that mean we could be in a world where if what you're saying happens, guys? This is why I wanted to talk about Solomon, because we're all going, let's get on board with that. Well, now what if Solomon impresses Frank, and now our 2 left-sided players for the season are Solomon and Tell? Aren't we then just going to go, club shit, no one's bought anyone, Levy's crap, scouting team's crap? Like, surely don't you just move someone like Solomon on for 15, 20 million, get that money back in the kitty and act like a big club and go, let's be fair, Solomon's not good enough for Tottenham, is he? Like, can we be brutally honest about this? He's not.
Played 24 times in the Premier League. He scored 4 goals and got 2 assists. So he's a 1 in 4 guy over the course of 24 games. So
my question is, Luke, is he going to... Listen, we've all seen Solomon, right? Maybe not as much. I agree, a lot of the Championship. But we're a Champions League team now. Isn't the whole point of getting Champions?
Stop it.
Hang on.
Let's, you're running before you can walk. We were 17th last season.
Hang on. Whoa. Slow yourself down. Ian Lubin, wash your mouth out. Calm yourself down.
You're getting carried away, mate. You are.
Oh,
we're a Champions League team. Yeah, we're like like Real Madrid and Barcelona.
Okay, let's do this then.
PSG,
Let's do this then. Ian Lubin. Oh, I want to protest against Daniel Levy. Daniel Levy doesn't give me what I want. Let me finish. I'm not deflecting. If you want to protest against Daniel Levy, you want to tell me he's everything wrong with his football club, then have the cheek to say to me that I want to run before we can walk because I want better than Man or Solomon. Which one is it, mate?
No, you actually said we're a Champions League team.
Factually, are we not? Factually, are we a Champions League team or not?
If you think we are a serious Champions League team,
factually, yes or no?
Ian, we're going to get Ian. We will make it out of the. We'll qualify between 9th and 24th. We're going to get a chance into the last 16 next season.
I hope so.
And then we're a serious Champions League team.
Are we factually a Champions League team or not?
I won't be putting any money on Spurs for Champions League, that's for sure.
No. Hang on. Factually, as we sit right now on the 15th of... Let me finish. Dude, you've got to let me finish a sentence. Come on, man. Right? We are 15th of June. Spurs are a Champions League football team for another year, right? For a year, we are a Champions League team at the minimum.
Okay.
And me wanting better than Manor Solomon brings about the comment, oh, Sav, stop it. Don't run before you can walk.
No,
what?
That's not what I said. You said we are a Champions League team.
And we are.
Right.
I haven't said anything incorrect, have I?
Factually, you are correct. But
exactly.
are we competitive as a Champions League team?
Factually,
okay. So let's use your
you are
terms.
very much incorrect.
Right. So, are we competitive as a Champions League team?
You're talking about we finished 5th or 6th.
No, I'm not. Listen, let me finish. Me wanting better than Manor Bloody Solomon means I think we finished 5th. Listen to yourself, right? You on one hand say, oh, a competitive Champions League team. Well, no, we won't be a competitive Champions League team if you want Manor Solomon playing for Tottenham. This is my point. Why don't you want better than Tell, Solomon and Gray? Why? Why don't you want better players?
Who said I don't?
Well, you're championing them.
I didn't say I didn't want better. I never said. You never heard me say those. I said was,
but you want Solomon, you want Tell. Where does another left-sided player come in?
I didn't say I wanted Tell. I said at the start of the show that I didn't think Tell was right, and I didn't think he'd earned, based on previous performances, I didn't think Spurs should be buying him.
But Manor Solomon has.
Manor Solomon has. Listen, Solomon did. He's hardly played for Spurs.
For a reason.
We don't
That's
know.
Why he got loaned out. He got loaned out because he's bottom of the pecking order.
Listen, I've got to tell you, Sean,
I think there was more than that's why he got loaned out.
Yeah, if you start trusting Ange and Ange's judgment, for Christ's sake, come on, of a player, the geezer's clueless.
So basically, on what Solomon's done in the Championship, you think he's good enough to play in the Premiership? You think he's good enough for it?
What I said was...
I'm asking you, what are you saying?
I don't know, Dan. Dan, I don't know. What I said was, let Frank have a look at him and judge for himself. Frank's a better judge of a footballer than I am. Let him see. He's our manager. Let him see how Solomon plays. Let him make the decision.
But what can you possibly gauge from the pre-season? Pre-season is a glorified fitness test. Like, there's nothing competitive about it.
There's no point playing games.
We've got Luton Town, and then we go away for like 3 weeks to the Far East and play Arsenal, Newcastle, Bayern Munich. And PSG is the first one where I think you can actually gauge. But by that point, the window's almost closed. So I think you have to make your decision based on what you've seen. And that's what we've done with Matisse Tell, by the way. Now, people might disagree with the decision that's been made, but that's what we've done. We made a decision based on what we've seen. He's been at the club long enough. If Thomas Frank thinks that the Championship is a good enough sample size and a good enough level to be able to rule, make the decision, fair enough. I'll have my opinion, but my opinion doesn't matter. Like, none of our opinions matter. It matters what Thomas Frank thinks. But if we're going to wait and see what he's like on a training pitch in 75, 80 degree, 100% humidity out in Korea or Japan, then I don't know what we can possibly gauge from that, because the competitive level in a friendly is far lower than the Championship. So
and Eze and Buemo and all of that have gone then. They've gone. They've already sorted out their futures.
100%.
So we're sitting here saying that we need to do the business early, but we also need to wait for Solomon.
You've got to make a judgment call. Can you get £20 million for Manor Solomon? If the answer is yes, then I think you absolutely sell him and you put that money together, and you do the same with Sonny. No time for sentimentality, right? You do the same for Sonny. You try and get together 60 million quid. You throw an extra 10 in, and then you go and get Eze, and you pay it off, or you go and get Mbeumo, and then everyone's happy, and then no one will care about Solomon's not getting a chance if it ends up being a part of the kitty. But if we wait because somehow people think he's deserved it, I just can't get my head around the logic of thinking that the Championship is a good enough gauge. And like I say, in the Premier League, the only time he did well, where he scored a couple of goals, was in a 5-1 game against Burnley. But they happened to also be a team that came up and were rock bottom, went straight back down again because Vince and company thought that he could do Championship level football in the Premier League. And he got absolutely spanked. Now, he got rewarded and went on to Bayern Munich, but that's by the by. To me, I just think that Manor Solomon, if Leeds United want to pay 20 million quid for him, And by the way, I know it's an
Silly.
awkward topic. And I don't want to bring it up, and I probably shouldn't even mention it. But Leeds United have a fan base that is probably the best fit for him, given the kind of sensitivities around certain topics. And I think
what he said was why he got loaned out.
That is a
basically.
consideration for the club to make, whether or not it's the right thing or otherwise. It's something that's probably in the back of people's minds.
I mean, for me, I think, Lubo, I think you weren't really answering the question. I mean, for me, I think you need either you rate the player, or you don't rate the player. You know what I mean? You know,
Alex, I genuinely wouldn't say either way whether he's good enough or not good enough. He played for Shakhtar Donetsk. He played Champions League football for Shakhtar Donetsk. Guy's playing international football. He's not a mug. I'm, you know, for me, there are not just Solomon. There are other players that I'm sure Frank wants to have a look at before he makes a decision whether to. Okay. And listen, he's not gonna get rid of everybody and bring in everybody he wants in one transfer window.
But Ian, do you think Solomon is good enough for us?
I don't know
Premier League from what he's done. Well, you seem to know to tell us that Archie Gray was good enough when he played there for the season. And he was good enough for the Premier League.
Bit different, 18-year-old kid who's smashing.
Right. Okay, yeah. Ian, mate, sorry, don't take it the wrong way,
more of an argument, then, right? Isn't that even more of an argument?
I'll tell you what I will say.
Hang on, one of you. Sorry, when four of you go, I can't hear a word.
I'll tell you what I will say. That in terms of Archie Gray, Thomas Frank wanted him for 40 million, and I trust in Thomas Frank. There's your answer.
Oh,
I'm worried about it. If Thomas Frank is just pleasing players for free, yeah, because of Johan Lang, because Johan Lang and him are best buddies, right? I know what Prodigy would do. Prodigy would sit there and say, "You having a laugh?" You know,
are you having a laugh?
You having a laugh? I've been cooking for so many years now. You know what I mean? I don't want to go there.
If we have this summer to look at Solomon, aren't we just back to 2023? Like, are we again? This is my point. Nearly everything we've talked about tonight, and don't worry, we're nowhere near finished. But nearly everything we've talked about tonight, it just feels like we're not a fan base that are talking like we're in Champions League. Have you noticed we spend all year every year talking about we've got to qualify for Europe. We've got to qualify for Europe. Then when we actually get into it, we still talk like we're a newly promoted football club. Where's the ambition? Where's the...
Well, let's talk about... Change the subject. Let's talk about the players we want that we think are good enough for Tottenham to make Tottenham a Champions League team. Because you started off, we were talking about Tell, then we moved on to Solomon. So we haven't actually hit that subject yet, have we?
No, we haven't. But the fact is, I've seen that Tell, who's done nothing in his career, and Solomon, who's done nothing in his career. There's a lot of arguments for both of those two being at our club. When I think other people are trying to say, "Hang on, can we go to that level? Can we possibly remember why we built a £1 billion stadium? Why we charge so much for shirts and for tickets? Can we please remember that?" And, you know, my whole point on this is we can't have standards in one area. Move on then, guys. We'll move on from Manor Solomon. Let me start with you, Dan List. Then I'll come to Luke. Lots of reports about there's three players that are doing the rounds. One is Grealish, whether or not it's a loan or a sale. The other one is Mbuemo, and the other one is Semenyo. Right? At the moment, I know everyone talks about Eze, but I've actually not seen a single link putting us to Eze other than the fans putting us to Eze, if that makes sense. But I have with Semenyo, have with Mbuemo, have with Grealish. Where are you at with these three players, Dan? And do they, for you, I'll be going around with everyone with these, are they the sort of players where we just go from the Solomons and Tells to then the next level or not? Where are you at with it?
Well, Mbuemo, I would take all day long. All day long. Was it 27 goals and assists? Playing for Brentford last season, he will come in and he'll make a difference straight away. Yeah, so I'll take him all day long. Do I think it will happen? I don't know. You know, he's close to going to Man United. They're working on a fee. Who really knows what goes on? He's linked to Spurs every day. I mean, I'm just sick to death of it. You know, just are we going to sign him or not? Who knows? Who's the other player? Grealish
and Semenyo.
Grealish, I don't know what's happened to him last season. Didn't see a lot of him, did we? Would I take him? Yeah, compared to what we've got. You know, he's exciting. He'll do something different. He's a bit of a game changer. How old is he now, Grealish? Remind me, guys. 29.
I think.
Yeah, he's going to want a lot of money. Would I take him? Yeah, of course. Yeah, compared to what we've got. It's an upgrade, right?
What about? Oh, mate! I've seen so many people in the Spurs fan base. We're now looking down on people like Jack Grealish.
Yeah, you've got to take him.
We're praising up Matisse Tells and pushing down Jack Grealish's who have got experience, homegrown, winning mentality, and
talking about keeping Solomon.
Yeah,
and a winger that doesn't give the ball away. Jack Grealish does not give the football away. He draws fouls. Free kicks, he brings others into the game.
Isn't the argument slightly different though? We've all agreed that Matisse Tell is okay. All of us that are okay with Matisse Tell on any level are only okay on the provision that someone else comes in that's better. If we're saying that Matisse Tell is okay, but Jack Grealish isn't, to me, the argument therefore is predicated on the idea that Jack Grealish would come in and be the starting left winger.
Yeah,
and that to me is underwhelming relative because of the risk. The guy's put his feet up for the last year after winning the Champions League. So I think they're two different arguments. Like if you offer me Matisse Tell and Eze, all aboard it. If you offer me Matisse Tell and Jack Grealish, not so much. If you offer me Matisse Tell and Solomon behind him, definitely not okay with it. But if you like the idea that someone can be okay with Tell and not okay with Jack Grealish, that's because I think the consensus would be, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but those that are okay with Matisse Tell is only okay if he's not necessarily the starting option. But if you did get Jack Grealish, he's not coming in to play second fiddle. He'd be coming in to be a starter. And that to me is where I would say I'm not interested in Jack Grealish.
I think he walks in.
Guys, I didn't even answer the third guy. Who's the third guy? Let me finish off answering the question.
Semenyo.
Yeah, I like him. It wouldn't be my first choice. I'd rather Mbeumo. But Semenyo looks exciting. Yeah, he looks something that could do something. He's played well for Bournemouth. He's only had one good season. So he's how old is he? He's 23?
25.
25.
He's a man. He's a man, Dan.
He's not a child. He's got pace. He scores goals. We need something to excite us as fans. We need something different. And I would take him as well. So, all three of them I would take.
Just to put the argument, sorry to interrupt you, Savva, I do apologise, but just the argument of what Sean's saying, about Grealish. The only reason why you're saying that about Grealish, because he hasn't been doing well at Man City, and I'm not being funny, Man City are a top team. They've got standards. Pep Guardiola is a very picky guy. Right? If he don't fit what he wants to do positionally, you're not in the team. Arts Phillips, was it Phillips? I forgot his name. Phillips that used to play for
Calvin Phillips.
Calvin Phillips, yeah. You know what I mean? So for me, I think people completely forget there used to be Gary O'Neill. No, it wasn't Gary O'Neill. Martin O'Neill, Harry Redknapp. He used to take these players that were from top teams of skill and make them come into a club and revitalize them. And to me, right, if Thomas Frank is this great coach that we've got, if he's got that tendency of Martin O'Neill, Sam Allardyce, he could take him to, because there is still something there with Grealish. You know what I mean? Just because you haven't seen him do well in the last how many weeks, it doesn't mean they're not a bad footballer. You know what I mean? It's in a top team like Man City that have got standards. You know what I mean?
But is he right for right now in terms of, you said about positional play? Grealish was a pivotal part of them winning the treble. He played virtually every game. So when everyone goes at the GA and a City, if you listen to all City fans, they go, listen, he played a perfect exact role for what we needed. So has he now gone off the boil? And I think that's the question, is if we're getting an 80, 90, 100% Grealish, 100%, I'm all in with it, no doubt. But if we're getting a Grealish that ain't half-assed and he wants 300k a week, is that where we should be going? Luke, similar to the Sane thing.
Can I ask you, Luke? See, this is the one thing I think that all football fans do. I think we look at players like, first of all, the number of people saying Grealish is washed. The boy is 29. Can we stop pretending that footballers at 29 are finished? It's absolutely ridiculous, right? Footballers go on 33, 34, 35, 36, right? Second of all, has he had a great season? No. Did anyone at Man City have a great season? No, right? Look, the thing for me is, we ever thought about sometimes players move and get a new challenge, right? A change of scenery, right? He Jack Grealish overnight hasn't turned into a shit footballer. Jack Grealish is super talented. Jack Grealish, like you said, you watch what Pep says about him. Yeah, what Pep said about him with a treble. Yeah, his goal and assists, everyone will talk to me about. But he said, what he offers me, none of the other players in my team do. He takes the ball, he drags us up the field, he doesn't give the ball away, which means the rest of the team can all go up and join in, which means the ball isn't coming back to us. He wins free kicks, right? He's good around the dressing room. He's got a winning mentality.
Then why didn't he play him this season?
Hang on, but Sean, but again, this is the evolution of football, right? If everyone looks at what's happening at Man City, they're evolving away from the older players, and he's going towards the Dokus and the Savios and the Marmouches, which naturally means that the Jack Grealishes, the Gundogans are getting less game time.
But that's what we're doing as well, though.
Well, we're not. We've never gone away from anything. We're not anything, are we? If Jack Grealish came into Tottenham, right? I'm not saying, by the way, Luke, I'm not saying he's my number one. I'm just using just him as the example. We're talking about Jack, right? If Jack Grealish came to Tottenham, he'd light up the lane. He would be the best footballer on the park immediately. And that's where you have someone like Thomas Frank that puts his arm around him and says, I know how good you are. We all know how good you are as a player, Jack. You've got the World Cup coming up in 12 months. Come and give me a great couple of years at Spurs. But everyone's written him off. Jack Grealish is shit. What? Sorry, Jack Grealish is shit.
Is it not fair?
While we're watching
you might disagree though, mate.
Hang on. While we're watching Brennan Johnson and Matisse Tell, Dominic Solankis, and we're talking about Jack Grealish not being good enough for Tottenham. I don't know how we've got to this level. I don't know who we think we are, if I'm honest.
The question mark isn't about whether he's good enough; it's whether he's still focused.
Sure.
And that's everyone. Like I think Luke said it right. If you get 100% version of Jack Grealish, 100%. Right, but like after he won the Champions League, he ticked every box. You know, he got back. And this is coming from someone who loves to party. This is not a criticism necessarily, but he looked like he was still coming down from a night out with David Guetta, and he had about 4 grams of something in his bloodstream. Like I'm just saying, like, is he still completely focused? There's a lot of players, man. It's not just saying this at Jack Grealish. There's loads and loads and loads of players out there. They get a huge contract that tick a few boxes, and then they kind of go, do I still have the motivation to get up and train 100%?
Yeah, but Sean, would you take him? Would you take him, Sean? Would you take him?
Not for 300 grand a week and 60 million quid. No.
Well, but forget the money, because it's not your money. Would you take Jack? If Jack Grealish tomorrow, they said we're getting him on loan for a year, are we really saying we wouldn't take him in a World Cup year? Where we have to bust the gut.
You say forget the money, but there is the opportunity cost, right? He's taking up a spot in the squad that if you're going to pay that money for him, it's different. If it's a loan deal, and if Thomas Frank Vance, I don't hate him or dislike him or anything else. I'm just saying there's a question mark about whether he's still motivated. And for me, at the same time, if all the reports are true that City value him at 50 million or even more than that, and 300 grand a week, which if that's the case, then you can write it off because Tottenham won't pay that much anyway. But in a world where you have that choice of spending 50 million and 300 grand, you're not far away from what you actually can get, which is a guaranteed player that is 100% committed, 100% classy techers in an Eberechi Eze. So for me, like, would I take him if there was another option? I'd be okay with it, Dan. But I'm not going to sit there and
you wouldn't be excited. You wouldn't be excited.
I'm not going to buy his shirt. No, I'm going to have to get Matisse Tell because unfortunately,
he'd be the best player at Tottenham.
The corner there, aren't I?
He'd walk in and be our best footballer. That's the shame of all of this. Look, the salary thing, I think, players like Jack Grealish will probably acknowledge that unless they go on to Saudi, etc., if you leave Man City, you might have to come down a bit. I just think that if we're looking at players like that, we need experience and leaders and personalities in this dressing room. And Jack Grealish, this is the thing that annoys me is the whole drunken thing. Everyone's seen a few bits of him partying and is automatic. This is the worst thing about life. Everyone has labelled him a drunk. It's absolutely ridiculous. Listen to Pep talk about him. Pep talked about him about 2 months ago when he was asked about Jack Grealish. And he said, superb trainer, brilliant around the dressing room. And he said, look, maybe we're just coming to different times in our... And we're all sitting out here going, he's washed. He's an alcoholic. It's like, hang on.
I didn't say he's an alcoholic.
No, not you. No, not you. I'm saying a lot of people in the chat are just calling him an alcoholic. Guys, first of all, this is slander on somebody's name, right? Second of all the videos I saw of Jack Grealish being drunk, the boy just won a treble. Fair play to him. I'm surprised he wasn't drunk for longer.
If we're dismissing those insights and we're supposed to take Pep Guardiola, can we not also question the motivations of Pep Guardiola when he's going to benefit from 50, 60 million quid of a sale by talking up a player?
But then a lot of people also said that we played so crap with Brighton.
He hasn't played.
A lot of teams said, Sean, a lot of teams said our team with Brighton was pissed up.
Let me finish this off, Dan. No, sorry, but Sean, but then you don't understand the evolution of a football team. Everyone,
don't do that, mate. That's so disingenuous.
But hang on. But you've just asked the question, why doesn't he play him? Everyone can see what Man City are moving towards with their wide men. Man City are moving towards the Marmouches, the Savios, the Dokus, the Bobs, the quick, incisive players. Whereas a couple of years ago, when Jack Grealish was flavour of the month, it wasn't that. It was more about the hold-up play. It was more about keeping the ball, the tick-attacker, right? So they've evolved.
And this season's the evolution has been so successful, right? Like, to be honest, Sav, you're assuming that because you don't like the narrative that he's not as good as, or he might not be as motivated as he used to be, you're filling in the blanks in the unknowns with your assertion that it's all about something else. You don't know that. It might be part of that, but the reality is Pep Guardiola has a motivation to talk up a player that he's more than happy to get rid of. And the fact is he didn't play him.
I don't believe that. Listen, I mean, he has played a lot of football this season, not as much as he would have liked, but you can just watch Man City and see what they're evolving to. Like, that's what I mean. We don't need, you can see what they're doing. You can see now he's gone down the Doku route, the Savio route. They're the routes he's going
Jack Grealish
down.
Anymore.
Sure, because Jack Grealish is a different style of player. Watch Man City now to 2 years ago.
A player that might not be as motivated as he used to be.
Hang on. Sure, but they're a very different team now. If you watch Man City before, it was all about 100% domination of the football, which is where your Grealishes are superb. They've gone away from as much possession as they used to have. Watch their games. Their possession isn't what it was. Right? They're now going towards that quick winger that gets the ball, beats a man like Doku, not holding it up as much. I can see what they're doing. It's really quite clear. But if we really are going to sit here and say that Jack Grealish doesn't walk into Tottenham's team, I'm just baffled by it.
Not from a footballing ability.
I think it's all academic because we won't pay the wages. We just won't pay.
I know, but that makes the show really boring if we do that, doesn't it? That's like saying, "Oh, we want Eze." It's academic. No, there's been no bids in. That's not really how YouTube works. I'm saying is that there's been a lot of links putting Jack Grealish to Tottenham Hotspur, whether that's on loan. I just can't see how the players that we're linked with, that our fans just accept. And then we downplay people like, it's not just him. We did this last year. With so many footballers that we just dismiss. I think we're crying out for a Grealish.
If he comes, then
fully motivated, 100%. Someone who puts their feet up after getting a big contract and has won everything. Like, what are we doing here?
If they want him, then you just turn around to City and say, we'll split his wages with you on a loan. Bring him in.
Frank isn't going to bring him in. As Frank said in his interview, everybody's seen the interview that he said. He don't take any dickheads. And I have no doubt that he will do his diligence and make sure that if he's bringing him in, he's motivated. And if he brings him in, then I think he would be a good player because I think he would have that motivation. But that is the only question mark that I think Tottenham will straight away, that's the first thing they will look at. They'll go, is this someone that's coming in as a treble winner who's put his feet up a little bit, kind of just taking that back seat?
No.
And if he's not,
we want winners,
he starts.
Basically, like our entire team did against Brighton, basically, and everyone said it's all right. We just won the Europa. They were pissed off.
That's slightly different. I'd use the other games as an example.
Look,
but people were saying they're saying the same things. He's won that much and got pissed up with it and whatever and that. As he
going over a course of a season
and want to win with him.
Having said that,
you do see it with a lot of teams. You do see it with a lot of players that once they've stayed at a team for a significant amount of time and winning consistently, they seem to lose their bit of bite for it as such. It's happened with Man U players, Arsenal players. It's happened at City. It does happen.
When
it comes to Grealish, last bit I was saying it. When it comes to Grealish, out of the four of them, he's the one I'd rather take on loan. But I think he's more than good enough to walk into our team. Yeah. Whereas Embremo, Eze, Semenyo, I don't think he's worth the 70 million at all. But I'd rather buy any one of them three. Grealish, I'd quite happily take him on a loan, but if we went and got him for 30, 40 million, I'd quite happily do that as well because he improves our first team for the next 3 years.
Yeah, and there's a World Cup at the end of the season.
Very
Grealish
true.
will want to get in.
Very
So
true.
By the way,
motivated.
Froholt, you remember Froholt?
Yeah.
He's just agreed a deal with Eintracht Frankfurt. So just so you know, he's off to Frankfurt. So he will not be joining Tottenham Hotspur. Listen, guys, I completely get it. You know, it's got to be a fully fit Grealish, fully focused on his mind. I just think that on one hand, we're crying out for experience and winners. And then when we get an experienced winner like that, but would they be motivated? But I don't know what we want. Then we seem to just want loads of unproven kids that might get better. But when an experienced winner's put on, listen, I've heard from a lot of people in football that Grealish is actually brilliant in the training grounds, like how he trains. He's brilliant in the changing room. I don't know where this dickhead vibe comes from because people have seen him have a night out. Like, aren't we all dickheads on a night out? Do you know what I mean? Like, aren't we all
a dickhead anyway, Sav, to be honest with you, whether I'm on a night out or not. So.
I just feel it's like kind of, I don't know where this has come from suddenly that Jack Grealish, because he's a personality, because he's out there, he's a dickhead. I don't understand why.
Madison has the same sort of thing for him. Madison has the same sort of thing. There's a lot of people who think he's a bit.
No, if you want,
that's what I'm saying. They're all four of them are very, very different in profile. So obviously, Mbuemo's favoured to be on the right-hand side of cutting in. So all four of them will improve our team, no doubt. It very much depends on how Frank wants to play, because if he wants to play in a certain way, the Grealish and Eze, they're two very different players, probably playing in a similar position. But all four of them, if they come in and let's just use they come in and they play as well as they can, all four of them improve us no end. And I think we should find out any one of them.
People also talking about a dickhead player. If you want to call Grealish a dickhead, then what the hell is Rashford? Should I give him a phone call and say, see you next Tuesday?
I didn't want Rashford to...
No, I'm comparing them. Now, if you want to compare a dickhead to a proper one, yeah? Now, Rashford, that has got to be one of the worst ones out there. I mean, look what he blatantly done. Blatantly goes out on the piss up for the night and everything and says he can't make it to training the next day or whatever because he's ill. Gets filmed all over the place and that. That is what you call a dickhead. I never, ever heard of Grealish doing anything like that.
Who's calling Grealish a dickhead, by the way?
Oh, just many people, not you, loads of people in the chat. Like
down to
every
the phrase
time Grealish is talked about, he's a dickhead, he's a playboy, he's a drunk. But everyone in football that listen to when people talk about Jack Grealish, this is the complete opposite to what they actually say. You watch him outside the stadiums, going into the training grounds. He's one of the only ones that stops for every single autograph with a kid.
He's got a disabled sister. So whenever it comes to anything like that, he's massively.
My
question is not about that. My only question is does he want to be at the top level? Has he still got that motivation? If the answer is yes, then you're 100% right. From a footballing aspect, unbelievable.
World Cup year, right? That's got to be the answer, surely.
The only reason why they're saying that he's saying what they're saying is because they're comparing him to people that are used to be Mavericks, and undoubtedly, Grealish is a Maverick. He's a Maverick.
I think it's because he hasn't played. I think if he'd have played 38 games this year, no one would be questioning him.
Yeah, no,
it's because they've seen that he's not played as much. So then that's where that's rolled.
But he's a personality. He's got personality with his football as a footballer. I'll say that about Sancho as well. You see what I'm saying? They're personalities, and they're free spirits that need to just have the free reign on the football, and that's it for me. And when they don't have that, people say, "Well, they've got too much personality," and that's it for me. And I don't agree with that. Harry Redknapp would have loved that sort of player. Harry Redknapp would have absolutely adored that sort of player because he had that player sort with Di Canio. Yeah, all sorts of players.
You know, like this year he's played more football than Van der Ven. He's played more football than Romero. He's played more football than
that piece of rubbish.
You know, when we're going, he hasn't played. He still played 32 games of football for Man City in this season. So, like, are we saying that? Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
do a poll.
Another poll. Just constantly putting out YouTube polls. Look,
it'll be interesting to feel though, because on this panel there's different opinions on him.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Sure.
What do you think?
I just look at
motivation. That's the only question.
He played 715 minutes in the Premier League this season.
Okay.
It's not a lot.
No, sure. But
Well,
he's played
in a
other
team
minutes
that-
elsewhere as well, right? Like he's super experienced. Guys, I want some experienced winners in this football squad with personality. And I'm looking at this squad, and I see the way Brennan Johnson's bigged up, and Solanke's bigged up, and Tell and Son, and I just want some winners. I want some winners.
Romero played twice as many minutes in the Premier League as Jack Grealish.
Sure, but he's still only played X amount of appearances this season, Romero, right? Every year, Romero hardly plays football games, and we still say we want him. You know, we've got to be careful what we wish for.
I don't like the way I can't stand the way he think, or his advisors think it's okay to talk shit about the club. I think it's, if he stays, he foregoes captaincy for me. You know, that whole thing about obstacles. I think it was just another on Thomas Frank's first day. I thought it was nothing short of petulant and outrageous. And I'm not saying that because I'm more likely to defend Daniel Levy than most people. It's because I just think it's unprofessional to be doing that twice in 3 months. I think the guy for me has shown his colours a little bit.
I agree with you, Sean. But just to look at the options at the moment, Semenyo looks good, but he needs to improve. And Bremo had a good season this season, but you know he has to do better next season, right? And if he goes to a big team, bigger expectations. Grealish has been in a team that has had big expectations, season in, season out, with a manager that is very, very demanding, right? He's gone into a team that has just won Europa League, European champions, right? He knows how it feels to be a European champion as a Champions League winner, right? He's got this free spirit. He'll feel a free man not being in the system, having to play winger, right? Maybe be able to unleash a little bit. Maybe teach players like Mikey Moore how to grow up. Make Ian a very happy very happy father of Mikey Moore. You know what I mean? So it's like, come on,
I've got a lot of kids here, Alex.
It's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. That's all I've got to say. You are
basing that on him coming in fully motivated and playing to his top level. And if we get that Grealish, everyone agrees with you.
Why wouldn't he be, Luke? Why wouldn't
I think there's obviously been a drop-off this year. Now,
from all of them, right?
Yeah, from all of them. So sure. What is the reason for that? Is there a reason? Is it because he's pivoting away? But if Jack Grealish was so pivotal, why pivot away to something that's working? There's so many different arguments, and that's what
Luke,
I'm saying.
Will you just take him, man? Would you take him? Yeah, just say. I know you have your doubts, but would you take him? Does he excite you?
I think if he signs, if Frank checks him out and Frank wants him, I think he'll be a very good player, because I think he would have done the correct thing. Working at Brentford, the way that he talks, I think he would, and I think he'll come in and he'll do a real good job.
Okay.
But as I said, I
think all of us agree that Grealish would do a good job at Spurs.
But the best version of him,
of course. But why wouldn't you get the best version of him?
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. I don't know why.
I've got to tell you, I'd love to see him at Spurs. I fear that if he does leave, I worry that if he does leave City, he'll go back to Villa, because he's a Villa boy. But
the money they've got.
It's like saying De Bruyne. Why have Napoli signed De Bruyne? De Bruyne's had a poor season. Like, why is it? Because players can be rejuvenated. Players can have a change of scenery.
Nice.
You know, he's on a free transfer though, right?
And it's his age. Otherwise, if he was 27, 29, Grealish's age, then every
Does everybody remember Salah and De Bruyne leaving Chelsea?
Yeah.
Either didn't get a chance, didn't take an opportunity, whatever it was. Neither of them did that.
Just for courses, right? Some people just later bloomers.
Absolutely.
Some people managed better by other people. Better, they acclimate better. They calm down. They grow up. Whatever. And like I think we're going around in circles a little bit here. But like with the Jack Grealish thing, I'm completely with Luke. 100% with Luke. If like the only reason that I think Luke and I are a little bit like not suspicious, but you know, it's a consideration, is just because you don't know what version. If you get the good version, everyone wants him. If you don't, no one wants him. Simple as that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Is it a risk worth taking though? Isn't it a risk worth taking? I think so.
50 million quid and 300 grand a week.
It's
Dan, I'd flip it the other way then.
45 million for Tell. Like, so for me, 50 million, give me Grealish all day, every day.
But if
50 million in Grealish or 60 million in Eze though?
That's the difference. Would you take a Grealish if you could get an Eze for five?
I'll take Eze.
It depends.
Listen, if we can get, if you can get Eze's the dream, right? I'm not down. If we were a proper club, we'd go and get Eze and then bring in Grealish on loan. If we were a proper club, we'd go and we would. But look, we would. If we were a proper club,
and now you're talking. Now I'm okay with that. Right? Now I'm okay with that.
If we were a proper club in the Champions League, we'd go and revamp that forward line completely.
Totally.
Right? We would be nowhere near bringing in Tells, nowhere near keeping Solomons, nowhere near all of this. Oh, you can't get rid of Johnson. He scored all these goals. Johnson in the Champions League will not get away with this. Johnson in the Champions League will not get away with being that poor on the wing, right? If you might play him as a second striker, but guys, we need a revamp up top. Proper football club next season, we'd have options such as Kulu, Eze, Maddison, Grealish, right? Now imagine Angepostecoglou. Imagine that's your 5 options to all play in and around the striker. That's a squad. That's a squad. And all we've got to do that, I say all we've got to do, you've got to look at, putting your money where your mouth is. Get Angepostecoglou, get Eze. That's 120 million, 130 million pounds, right? Sell some players out. Forget the fans' emotions. I couldn't give a shit about, but you can't sell Johnson or Solanke. I'll get rid of it. I don't care. Sell them, get better footballers in. Let's act like a big club that are ruthless. Let's be a proper Champions League football club for once, rather than this, I like this 19-year-old. Let's go for it.
Only one belief we will. I have my doubts.
Well, I do worry when I hear things about, when I'm hearing things about Richarlison, that below average Emerald Heskey, that he's doing this. And I'm still saying, Frank, seriously, are we going to give below average Emerald Heskey to Richarlison a chance? When really, how can you upskill Richarlison? What are we doing here?
He's not leaving, mate. He's like Leonardo DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street. I ain't fucking leaving.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving. It's just ridiculous. We cannot go in. We cannot go into a season with Solanke and Richarlison as our front two. It just screams mediocre. I said this about Solanke last year. I'm sticking by it. Maybe Frank gets more out of him, but in the Champions League, you need a goal scorer. You need a seasoned goal scorer, not a bloke who's had one good year.
How would you feel, Sav, if Harry came back?
No.
You want a goal scorer? You want a world-class goal scorer? Why?
We've got to move on. We've got to move on.
If he's good enough.
No,
It's not going to happen.
Can we talk more realistically for a second, though, right? Because I do think this summer has higher caliber, a bigger supply of high caliber forwards that are linked everywhere, with only about the same amount of teams that are looking for more talent. You've still got Osman that's looking for a home. You've got Gokares, you've got Sesko, you've got Ekitike, you've got Jonathan David, Dusan Vlahovic, Ollie Watkins might be looking for a move. Right, there's 7 or 8 top strikers, top player that are looking for potentially looking for new homes, and none of them are tricky yet, because I think that the world is sitting there going, what does this market look like? Like Liam Delap, 20 million quid. That's a sort of unique situation because of the release fee.
Sure.
Florian Wirtz, hang on a second, £150 million for Florian Wirtz, massive potential punchy overprice. What is the right price for these players? But like, there's only like 6 or 7 teams that are looking for a top draw striker. Like, I wonder if Tottenham are going to be one of them. If we can,
they're all waiting for Frank. They're all waiting for Frank.
They're all waiting for Thomas Frank. Yeah, right. Yeah. Richarlison's got to be wedged out, kicking and screaming.
For me, I'm sorry. If we keep it, this is where I've got a question, Frank, because I think someone made a good point. I don't know if it was Luke, made a really good point. If you're waiting,
it wouldn't be Luke. Luke doesn't make good points.
No, he actually makes good points. Don't make it. Don't get used to it though. Don't get used to it, Luke. The point is though, is that the fact that if you're waiting to see how they're good in pre-season, you're missing on your big targets, right? And I just think we're missing a big, massive trick. You know what I mean? And if that's Johan Lang, right, doing these deals as well, making these adjustments with Thomas Frank, I'm very concerned. You know what I mean? Right?
How good?
I have to be honest. Parategy, I just don't see it working here. If Parategy's sitting there thinking, all right, Richarlison, that, yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm questioning the club because why are we getting Champions League then?
But
Sorry,
again,
What is the point?
if he doesn't want to go, if he doesn't want to go and he's on 180 grand a week, there's nothing you can do. It goes down to, again, poor signings. If he's sitting there going, I'm not going, I don't care. He was offered God knows how much to go Saudi, and he's going, I've got no interest. I'm all right. I'm on 200 grand a week sitting here. Love it.
That's all you can do with him is tell him he's not playing. And if he's not bothered about it, then he ain't going nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what is it? If I remember right, you can't even write off their contract for him without their permission, can you?
Well, I'm sure if you offered him the money up front and said, just go, if we owe you 1.8 mil, here's 1.8 mil or whatever it is.
Oh, I get that. But I'm saying if he doesn't give permission for it,
Yeah.
they can't cut his contract even if they pay it all off, can they? Whereas I used to think they could. But if I remember right from a few things, shows I went on, and also checking a few things, you can't actually cut his contracts without his permission, even if you give him the full money.
No, you can. You can.
Can you?
Yeah, for sure. That's the employment law. Yeah, if someone's on a contract, they're owed what they're owed.
There was quite a few things. Yeah, I get that. But there was quite a few things when we went through this. I think it was last year or even at the start of season 4, where there was a lot of them where we should just like and Bremer,
We done it with Doherty, didn't we?
and Dombele and stuff like that. We should just write the contract off and whatever. But if the player refuses to have his contract cut off, they couldn't actually do it.
You just got to pay it all in front in one lump sum.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought it was. But there was
you can, but
you can't just do it.
And if you did that, there'd be no reason why a player wouldn't take it, because you get the full, in the Ndombele case, you get the full 10 million for the year, and then you can immediately sign for someone else and get a signing fee and wages and all that stuff. So
I mean, that's what I would have thought it was as well. That's how I would have thought it worked. It's just I read quite a few things and heard that if the player says, well, I ain't going nowhere and I'm not letting you write my contract off, even if you give me the full price, that they couldn't do it. There was a lot of 50-50s about it. But what you're saying is what I thought as well. You could just cut it, basically. There's your money.
Employment law.
Cut the contract. That's what I would have thought. But I heard otherwise as well. Without the player's permission, you can't do it.
Maybe.
So I don't know for a fact.
Richie is staying. That's it.
Does it go against FFP? I really don't want to say this, but does that go against FFP?
No.
No?
No.
Oh, hopefully not. But I'm just saying, because obviously, is that us paying out money then? You know what I mean? Because FFP...
No, that's also that's just to do with the yearly figures. That's just
technically, it would actually go in favour of FFP, even though it would screw up your cash flow. The revenue that you've got, the FFP, the squad cost ratio is a 70% thing. Your actual wage bill would come off, and the abnormal cost of paying in the Ndombele situation, that £10 million comes off of it as an abnormal expense.
Right.
So then you've reduced your wage bill by 10 million, and you've still got the same revenue that came in anyway. So technically, it would actually help if you were on 71% and then you were going to get punished by UEFA. You could technically do that probably, even though it would screw up your cash flow. It might get you out of a jam.
We ain't sacking our little brother. It's not happening. He's staying, Sean. Richarlison is staying.
I think this is where we need to be ruthless. This is where fans, owner, Frank, everyone. I think it's where we need to be ruthless. At the end of the day, if Tottenham want to be considered a top club, players like Richarlison should be out the door immediately. Right, immediately. Players like Basuma, Bentoncourt, people come in for them immediately. They've got to be going. Like if Romero wants to go, be a big club, get rid of him, get another defender in. I think we're very sentimental. Like whenever I speak to fan bases of other clubs, I don't feel like they're as sentimental about average footballers as we are. Like for years we had it. Like and Ndombele, for 5 years I heard this manager will get the best out of him. Come on, guys, it's not working. Let's get rid of. We didn't. 5 years of him. Lo Celso, 5 years of this year might be the year. Sissoko, Dyer, Emerson Royale, Serge Aurier, Eric Lamela, Lucas Moura, Bergwijn. It just feels like we go on and on and on with these players. Let's act big. I don't know why that's seen as so negative and toxic. Let's act big. So if a bid comes in for Brennan Johnson, cool. Thanks, Brennan. See you later. But our fans go, oh, but Brennan, but he scored again. Ole, ole. Well, yeah, but do you want a top footballer or do you want Brennan Johnson? So I think we need to be proactive. I think we need to be decisive. I think we've really got to change this mindset throughout the fan base and the club. I think we need to.
It's never going to change, though. It's never going to change, Savva, because the thing is, because morals. You saw the argument with the previous manager, morals, and Daniel Levy's shown what he meant by what he thinks about morals. He's got none because he don't need morals because he's a businessman. You see what I'm saying? So this is the thing: it will never change because the club are what we are at the moment. You see what I'm saying? Like I said, you have your best night of your life with with whoever you're in love with. And then, that's the best night of your life. You know what I mean? That's Tottenham Hotspur, the best night of their life, winning the Europa League. But, we still want, it still might not work out still. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Tottenham fans can't take away that success, that brilliant moment. You see what I'm saying? And unfortunately, that doesn't make a lot. That doesn't get you money. That doesn't get you to that win you again, or be successful again, or anything like that moment. You know what I mean? You've got to do that moment again and again and again and again. That's consistency. And unfortunately, consistency and Tottenham do not match whatsoever. You know what I mean? So I ended up getting to that point, didn't I?
No, I get it. I get it.
I've just read here on the contract thing. You're basically
I just looked it up
right.
As well.
Yeah, we're basically right on what we're saying, but there's got to be a just cause to it. And if the player says it's not a just, if he says it's not a just cause, for whatever the reason is, then there has to be a court case and everything else. If the player refuses the termination of the contract, even if he gets the full money, there has to be a just cause for it as well. There has to be an agreement. And if it goes to the court case, then the club has to pay for everything and also state the just cause, but the player doesn't have to accept it. The cause can only be done on if he's doing something wrong sporting or something wrong this or liable for damages, whatever. Because the player can turn around and say, well, it's a personal reason they don't want me here and I want to stay here, basically. There has to come to an agreement or he has to have done something wrong in the contract.
So I
just
asked
from what
Grok,
I'm reading.
It said, Grok said, and I don't know where Grok's got his sources from, but it said, yes, you can terminate the contract if it's mutually.
I mean, I would have thought you could. As long as it's
in any other walk of life, you absolutely can. You absolutely can.
Yeah, I know that.
I've been in that situation before where you have contracts paid out, right? 100%. I've done it. I've paid out contractors, and I know that. But in terms of football, it says here only if there's contractual stipulations in the contract that might make that difficult, where it has to be by mutual consent. But again, I don't know where Grok's getting its sources from.
It's all the little bits in between, sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
guys, can I ask then, just on the Romero thing? I mean, Romero's been brought up, and he always seems to be topic of conversation in one way or another, right? And for me, you've got lots of people in the chat going, oh my God, how could you get rid of Romero? He's a winner. Other people are like, well, hang on, his attitude isn't great. For me, I've said the same thing all along. If you've got a fully fit Romero that wants to be here and stop slagging the club off, then brilliant. But we've also got a player there that hardly plays football. We've got a guy there that is always injured. Yeah. Always seems to put Argentina before us. And he's meant to be part of our leadership team, and he's coming out and constantly having digs at the club. Where are we all at with him, guys? Can you build around Romero? Would you sell him if the price is met? We know he's wanted. What do you all make of Romero, that situation?
I think we should just get rid of him, to be honest with you. Because I think it's just poor from him. I've got to be honest. I don't know whether it was something of just try and come and get me to other teams, or he's just making a statement that, well, I'm not liking the fact that Ange is gone and I've got this manager. I don't know what it is all about, but for me, I think the fact that, like I said, I think you said, Savva, he's hardly playing. He's always injured. That's one point. Another thing as well, that sometimes I think consistency is a big thing with him. And I think other players make him look good in that sense as well. And you've got to play to his strengths, and that's what's been the catalyst to him being successful. And yeah, I just think, for me, if you can get enough money out there and sell him and get a defender in that's going to be more committed and more game time, I think you need to get rid of him, for me. And I think he was lucky to be in the team last season because I don't think he was actually that great last season, to be honest with you. Yeah, that's my thoughts really.
Anyone else?
So the
This-
quote.
Well, if you look at the appearances over the last 2 years, while Ange was manager, Mickey's played 50 out of 101. Romero's played 60. Udogie's played 65. I think Porro's played most. He's played virtually all 101 games. So Romero's more than Mickey, slightly less than Udogie. No one talks about Udogie, do they? You know, he's played 5
that's because
games.
I don't think Udogie's not being put in the same bracket, Luke. Like, I don't look at Udogie. If I woke up tomorrow
talk about injury, talk about availability. So
I agree.
Just talking about availability. I'm not talking about ability.
I agree.
Just talking about availability. But listen, Romero came through. You know, you look at the quarterfinal, semis, and final. You know, if Romero had been injured, we wouldn't have won. We wouldn't have got through and won that. He was immense.
Based on what?
His performance. No, he was immense in those later rounds of the Europa League. His performances were immense. Frankfurt against Bodo, against United, I thought he was superb.
Could Danso not have done what he done?
I don't think Danso's as good. No, Danso I don't think could have done. Honestly, I don't think Danso's anywhere near as good as Romero. I think Danso's a good player, but he's not in Romero's league, that's for sure.
No. Danso doesn't make stupid mistakes.
On his day, Romero is world class. We've all accepted that. But the thing is, there's lack of days with it. I think if you played both of them over a season and they had 38 games each, I think you would see a better overall season out of Danso because you would see more consistency in the games of the same standards. Whereas Romero, you'd see world class, good, very good, piss poor, good, all right, world class. It'd be so up and down as he is as a player. And that is why I do not class him as a world class player. On his day, he's one of the best strikers on the planet. No two ways about it. But how many days of that does he actually have? I think Danso, you would see a more consistent 7 over the games, whereas Romero, you'll see a 2, a 4, a 10, a 5, a 6, a 7. He's just so up and down, and he costs us games as well and everything, erratic and that. And it's just comparing. I'm just saying over 38 games to compare it, basically.
What about Ange's, though, guys? What about Ange's coaching on Romero the last couple of seasons? Do you think, that's been an issue? I think so.
Well, I can say, I think if you can have an argument for him when he was with Conte, though.
Yeah.
And with
Nuno. That bad under Conte?
Well,
I'm not hit and miss under Conte.
Hit and miss. So I think
he's been the same all 4 years, Alex.
Exactly.
I think the whole 4 years with Romero, I've seen brilliant games, awful game, brilliant game, awful game. And this is why I've never put him in the same bracket. Like, when people are telling me he's world class players don't have that many shit games every season. Like, I feel like this year in the league,
I don't see that he's had that many shit games over 4 years at all.
Oh God,
not at all.
But he's not world class, is he? On his day, he is world class. But to be world class for me, you can't just have a good team. You can't just have. You can turn around and you could make a bang average player. He could actually have a world class game for one game. Does that now mean he's a world class player?
He's not world.
No, we all know Romero is, but his consistency is terrible. The only place he seems to have out and out consistency is for Argentina. For us, I mean, you look at him at the start of the season for us, he was probably one of our worst players on the bloody pitch.
Yeah, a poor start, Dan. That was probably his poorest period in the 4 years. I agree.
But overall, he's so up and down.
He is up and down.
And that is why I don't call him world class. He's got the capability to be world class, but his consistency is what stops him being world class for me. You can't just have a world class game, 1 in every 10 to be a world class player. Not funny.
His availability for me means you can't be
that as well. That does no favors either, does it?
I think you're hitting the nail on the head, Dan. To be honest with you, most of your points here, but just for me, who's a world class defender then? Who's a world class defender in the Premier League?
Virgil van Dijk.
Van Dijk's probably the only one.
Is he better than is Romero better than Van Dijk?
He's nowhere near. But we know he's nowhere near Van Dijk, is he?
So this is the point I'm making. This is the point I'm making. It's like, when you put against some of the top defenders in the Premier League, he doesn't really have a candle towards them because they have got more consistency. Dan's just hit the nail on the head, right? One of our defenders that just came in January right? You could even argue Davis. You can even argue Davis, who I don't rate.
I
Right,
don't. No, I wouldn't go that far.
No.
We've done this, Alex.
No. We're not doing this. We're not doing this because I get laughed at.
Davis.
I get laughed at. No, we're not doing this. We're not doing this because what is he? When Davis is in central defence, what's happened? We've been 4-0 against Manchester City, right?
One game, Alex.
No. We're not doing this.
Sorry, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it either, Alex.
No, Ian.
Don't you start comparing Davis to Romero?
Sit there and learn your lesson. The point I'm making is, Davis.
You're talking nonsense now.
I'm not talking nonsense.
You're talking nonsense.
Hang on, let him finish. Let him finish at least, so we know what he's saying.
Because, like I said, right, Davis, Danzo, right, have shown good defensive qualities in big games for us as well in our big wins. Right, even Dragerson, who everyone else has a go at Dragerson, saying he's useless, and you saw the fan base when he came in last year January, saying, it's Dragerson Day, it's Dragerson Day, yeah. Oh, we've got such a top defender, right? So I'm sorry, Romero is not that great that everybody's rating him right now. Let's be honest here. I'm sorry, right? And you can laugh at me how much you want, but truth hurts. I'm sorry because those defenders were very good. They were good.
Let's talk. Right, Alex.
Hang on, this is a great point, Lubo. This is a great point. If he's world class, why aren't Liverpool, City, Bayern Munich? You know, why aren't the big boys coming? Real Madrid didn't want him. They went for Houston. What? Why?
Maybe they're all going for young players. They're all going for younger centre backs.
I mean, Romero's not old, is it? I mean,
they're not available. They're not going to go for him because he's not available. That is the end of it. He's not available.
I agree. I don't think they're going to go for someone that's A, not as available as he is, and B, as up and down as he is. I know Lubo wants to back this guy to the hilt, but in 4 years, I've maintained this since the first week we signed him. Yeah, I've said the same thing. I've never wavered. When he plays brilliantly, he's brilliant. When he doesn't, he looks absolutely terrible. Mistake-ridden, concentration. He's been up and down. And the problem was, under Conte, the excuses for like the first year he came in, I thought he did better, right? Thought he did better. Still, for me, too rash. But in the first year, oh, God, look how good this Romero is. The second year, remember, when we conceded like 65 goals, whatever it was, people went, oh, well, what do you expect? He's playing alongside Davis and Dyer. And my answer to them was, well, hang on, he was playing alongside Davis and Dyer in his first season as well, when you all raved about him. Then it was, oh, well, now he's alongside Mickey van der Ven. You're going to see the best of him. And for the last 2 years, I've seen yet more Romero up and down. Sometimes he's brilliant. Other times he's awful. But if you say that, it's almost like you've offended people. He is not consistent in any way, shape, or form. Do I get the Romero? That I saw it in the final against Man United or against Frankfurt, week in, week out? No, I don't.
And that's it, Savva. And that's it. If he was like that, consistency, then we would be like that. But he's not.
I think the other part of that is that a few of you, and I agree actually on Dan's point, I think if you had a Danzo, you're getting 7s out of 10 throughout the season. But if we start the season and we've sold Romero and Danzo's the replacement, this fan base will be absolutely fuming because Danzo's not at the level. So for me, in terms of Romero, is it time to go or not? First of all, the backing of Ange, do that if you want, but the horse has bolted. He's not the manager. It makes no sense. He's gained nothing. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But also with Romero, it's about what you bring in, and it's also about the offer. So I think I said this on Sean's channel the other day. If the offer's 30 million, we can keep him for another year and still sell him for 30 million because he ain't going to be worth any less than that. If someone comes in and offers 70, it's who comes in. Who are we bringing in? Because if we're bringing in a player that's not as good as him, and not going to offer that consistency, not be Champions League level, then again, we're just selling players, replacing them with players not good enough, and then the cycle just carries on. So there's so many stipulations.
But to Dan's point, forget if it's Danzo, there are clubs with worse centre-backs than Romero, but that have better defences than Tottenham because those players are consistent and build partnerships. And I think the worrying thing is everyone just goes, oh, so-and-so coming in isn't better than Romero. But give me a guy that can play 38 games a season all day, every day. This guy in the Premier League, right? In the 4 seasons he's been at Tottenham, he's managed over 27 games once, right? In his first year, he managed 22 Premier League games. Last year, 18 Premier League games, right? He hasn't managed 40 games in a Tottenham shirt in any of his 4 seasons. So you've got an inconsistent player, can't keep himself fit, but people want to build a defence around that. That's worrying for me. Clubs don't build their defence around injured players.
He's played 124 games in 4 years.
Yes.
He didn't play against Brighton, did he?
It's 30 games a season, roughly.
He's
31 per year. 31 per year.
But again, it's all about what you.
Three of those seasons would have been Europe, and so 3 of those seasons would have been 4 competitions, and the man's managed 124 games in 4 years.
So he's running at 60, 62, 63% roughly. If you work on 50 games a season for 3, and you only had 41 last year, so you're 190 games, 124 over 190 is around 63, 64%.
We played 60 games this season, Lubo. You know that. We played 60 games.
You're right. He's managed to make 41 yards, 101. Yes, okay, about 62, about 61, 62% he's played. Sure.
It's not good enough, is it, for your leading centre-back? Doesn't your leading centre-back need to be...
That's a different matter. If you're talking about availability, then that's a different matter. When you're talking about ability, you can't. 2 things just to answer Alex on. First of all, you can't put Davis in the same category as Romero, and secondly, I'll just give you one example. When I can't think who the Everton player was that burst from the halfway line and took on Dragerson, then backed off, and he smashed it in the back of the net. Who was it?
Iliman and Jaya.
Yeah,
that's right. I mean, Romero wouldn't have let him do that in a million years. Dragerson's not.
Hang on, did you say that? Sorry, you say that. I watched Argentina the other night. Sorry, again, this is where I always hear this. If so and so had played, this would never have happened. I've watched Argentina. Hang on, Lubo. I've watched Argentina.
He did it at the Emirates the week before.
Let me finish the sentence, man. Come on, right? You do this all the time. If he had played, this wouldn't have happened. It don't matter who plays for Tottenham. The same things are happening. I hear this all the time. We've had Van der Ven and Romero play all these games where they lose and lose and lose and lose. But then the games they don't play, I hear, well, if those two had played. I saw Romero the other day. Anyone see that when they played Colombia?
No.
Right? Anyone see Christian Romero's defending for the goal? And I've seen that over and over and over again where he's not switched on. He's not picking up his runner. Christian Romero is good when he's in a low block, right? So the games against Frankfurt, the game against Man United where we're sticking 10 men behind the ball, Christian Romero is great in that, right? All of a sudden, when the game's open up a little bit and you're asking Christian Romero to go with his runner, right? You're asking Christian Romero to be cool, calm, collected and switched on. You start seeing a lot of mistakes from Christian Romero. The Argentina fans have been saying it the last few internationals. He's switching off. So all of this, that wouldn't have happened if Romero was there. I've seen players running at Romero and give him the runaround for fun. I'm not having this. I'm not having this revisionism. Nah, we're not doing it.
Sorry, I don't remember anybody taking on and making a monkey of Romero like Njai did on Dragerson at Goodison. Sorry, I don't remember it. And let me ask you a question. You mentioned Romero switching off. What was the result with the Argentina game, and how did he play for the rest of the match?
Mate,
was that goal solely his fault? Or were there other players in play that could have helped to stop that goal?
There were other players at fault. But when you're a defender, but Lubo, when you're a defender, you've got to do your bit. You've got to do your bit. This is the thing, Lubo. It's almost like we don't see it. It's like we don't see it. When Romero, every week I watch him for Spurs and I'm like, he's lackadaisical for me. Too many mistakes. We saw it the game at Wolves. It's like, oh my God, do you even want to be here? I'm watching too many games like that in Nottingham Forest when he rushes into midfield and kicks people in the air because he's out of position again. And people go, yeah, but Romero don't do those things. Yes, he does. It's just that he has a few sprinkled world-class performances that make people forget about all of those games he has where he's not top draw. This guy, is he, for you, is he anywhere near a Toby or a Jan?
I'd rather have Alderweireld personally.
Yeah, but is he anywhere near a Toby or a Jan?
That's what brought my expectation down. I was one of the ones that were going, he's not like elite, but he's very high. And then someone went, oh, like Toby, and I was like, nah. Like King, nah. Like Tonga, nah.
On his day,
on his day at that level, yeah.
Yeah, on his best, I would say he's better than both of them. But like I say, he only has that world-class game 1 in every 10.
Oh, damn.
He's got no consistency. Yeah,
oh my god, those two were Rolls Royces. There is.
I haven't said they weren't.
Never watched. Huh?
I've never said they weren't.
No, I've never seen this man be a Rolls. Never. I've seen this man when his back's to the wall and he's defending for his life. I'm talking about as actual defenders that don't have to just go 10 men behind the ball, reading the game, good on the ball, anticipation, interceptions. This guy is not. This guy for me, he can't lay their boots.
I agree. I don't think as an overall player he is, but a lot of people. Well, everyone has agreed on here basically that on his day he is a world-class player. Was either of them two ever labelled as world class? As a question.
But they played.
I don't know.
They played in an era where there were top world class defenders everywhere.
We can say that about a lot of players, though. We can say that about strikers these days. We can go back 25 years, and most of the players can't even lace the boots of players.
I agree, but that's not what we're talking about, Dan. We're talking about defender. We're talking about Romero. Romero's playing in an era where there are hardly any world class centre backs, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I don't rate him as a world class player.
I don't rate him as a world-class player. I'm so scared that we're going to build. You know what will happen, Dan? We'll build what will happen again is we'll keep Van der Ven and Romero. Then when one of them gets injured or both of them get injured next year, that was the go-to excuse. Oh my God, they've got injured again. Well, we've got 2 years of evidence now that shows us they're not reliable. Spurs have to make a decision. Do you go in for a third year? That's your main two, knowing they get injured. If they do, we can't complain. When they get injured, we can't complain. We know they get injured. By the way, look at their records before they came to Spurs as well. They are injury prone. It's not Ange. We keep saying it's only Ange. It's not. So stick up for Ange here. Van der Ven, always been injury prone. Always, there you go, Luke. Always been injury prone. Romero throughout his career, never ever playing 45, 50 games in a season. I don't know where we go with him. And he don't here anyway, is my overarching point. Sure, what's your take on Romero?
I said it, mate. I think I said it at the start. I think the guy. I think that like there's no one bigger than the shirt. The badge on the front is bigger than the name on the back. Always will be. And if you're a player that wants to throw the club under the bus to engineer a move. Or whatever your intentions are, you've done it once. I can forgive you once, but 2 times in the same couple of month period, it starts to get disrespectful. And I think if he's talking about things like obstacles that will always be there, if he's talking about obstacles towards our progress, I think that there's certainly part of his CV at Tottenham that's included obstacles. I think that he was, I'll go back to the red card the stupid red card that he committed in the Champions League last 16 against Milan under Conte. Stupid. Ruined the game for us. Not that we were necessarily going to qualify, but it certainly ruined it. I think he's a lot. I've heard you guys all mention his injuries. I think about maybe, I don't know what the percentage is, but I'd say a not an insignificant amount of the time that he has spent on the sidelines injured is because of injuries that he has sustained himself by being a reckless donut, kicking the boot of players with his overly aggressive stance on tackling, which some people love, but other times can be just chaotic. I think that his availability when it comes to playing for Tottenham, when there's a close proximity to more important things in his mind, which is his country, I think is problematic. There's a World Cup coming around the corner. If Tottenham get to the FA Cup final next season and Argentina have their World Cup meet-up a couple of days later, is he going to be available? Or is he going to magically have a ankle, and then 3 days after the final, we'll see him fully fit training with his teammates in America? Like I think that he's the best centre back that we have at what centre backs traditionally do. But I think if you can get 70 million quid for him, then I think you can go and put it in a new direction. I also think, for what it's worth, that there's players out there. Like the idea of spending £70 million on Jared Branthwaite is bonkers to me. Absolutely bonkers. I really like Branthwaite, but he's not £70 million worth of talent. If Mark Gahey isn't going to come, there's other areas you can look at. I'm not as au fait with Evan and Descartes as I used to be. He seems to have molded his game and been a little bit like less Tottenham-esque in the last year and a half. But there's a player out in Sporting called Diamandi that's not going to cost you 70 million quid, and I think he's a top draw player that's going to be insane.
Palace sniffing around him.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that guy is absolutely top draw, top player. And he's not going to cost you 70 million quid, right? He's not going to cost you that. And so what you could do with the difference is you can bring in, like, say he cost you 50, then that other 20 million quid, you put it towards the Solomon budget, you put him towards the Sun budget, and then you can go and get the Eze deal done. So I think that there's outcomes here. One thing I would say is that Daniel Levy, I know he doesn't need my advice, but I for sure hope that he doesn't lower his asking price to help Romero get out, because it sets a significantly bad precedent. And B, I think that the guy, if he's a World Cup winner and he thinks that he's above everyone, then with that comes a price point. But if nobody's coming in for him, I think someone put the comment up a minute ago, if he's that good, where are all these top teams that are coming in? The only name that we've seen is Atletico Madrid, and they haven't got 70 million. So he's going to have to like it or lump it at Tottenham. If he can't get a bid, Daniel Levy shouldn't lower the price to kind of make him happy. But one thing for absolute fucking certain, you do not give the captain's armband next season to a geezer that calls the club out twice in 3 months. No chance.
I completely agree. And Sean, just quickly before we go on to that with the guys, Lord Rodney Trotter, you watch me every day. First of all, you must understand that I've got 2 V's in my name, surely. Savva is doing everything he says he hates about our fans, knocking a player because he wants to leave. No. Listen to what Savva actually says. Savva says, if a player wants to leave, leave. That's not knocking him. Surely, guys, isn't that, if a player don't want to play for Tottenham Hotspur, why would I want them at Tottenham Hotspur? Why am I being mocked for that? That's mad. If he doesn't want to be here,
yeah, that's fine. But you don't engineer. You don't drop the price point to get him out because that's what he's doing.
Completely different. I've never said that.
He might
what I'm
have to.
He's saying knocking a player because he wants to leave. I'm not knocking him because he wants to leave. What I'm saying is I support Tottenham Hotspur. I don't support Christian Romero. If Romero wants to sign a new contract and be here and play and gets fit, crack on. But all of his actions in the last year or two have shown me that he doesn't really want to be here. Right? He's constantly, he's part of the leadership team. And in the last 3 months, he's called out our medical staff and our board. Right? Whatever you think about the board, as part of the leadership team, you go and have that conversation like a man. Go and have that conversation like a man, not through your social media. Right? Second of all, if you want to be here, sign a contract. And if you don't want to be here, thank you very much. Cool. Do you know what? Tottenham have lost better centre-backs than Romero. You know what? We didn't go into administration. We didn't get relegated. We're not dissolved. We're still here. So
also, Sam, is it not worth pointing out, mate? Sorry to interject quickly. You clearly didn't write that fucking statement. And it wasn't just the medical team that he also called out, right? He also called out the club before the medical team. So it's actually 3 things that he's done in the last 4 months. If your agent or your social team or whoever it is that is writing these very, poignantly made inferences that we can all just assume what you're saying here, if you're the big sort of honcho that you are on the pitch and you're a man, like, why are you sort of mincing your words? As Savva says, either say it to the guy's face, keep it off the public sphere, or if you're going to do it, at least come out and say it. Don't leave it up to our interpretation. But more importantly than that, let your agent do what he's actually paid to do. Which, if you think you're so fucking good, then your agent shouldn't have any problem in being able to go and sell your services to these top clubs that might want you. But you know what? Maybe, just maybe, Christian, other clubs are going to look at the fact that you're willing to call them out when you think that they're not doing enough and go, do we really want that sort of character in our dressing room as well? So
why are no big clubs coming in for him? This is another thing. Is he as good as the Spurs fans think? Because
availability,
Atletico want him, but only want to. By the way, Atletico want him so bad that they value him at 40 million.
And they went and got Clement fucking Longley last week instead.
Right. Where's Bayern Munich? Where's PSG? Let's put this out there right now. PSG are in talks with Zabanyi of Bournemouth, right? If Romero's so good, why are they not going in for him? Why have Liverpool? Why have City, Chelsea? Why are Real Madrid, Barcelona? If this guy is that great, Why is no one coming in for him? Now, I'm not saying they won't.
And the other problem is, if he really wants to go and he's done what he's done, and then starts kicking up a stress in the dressing room, and then starts saying more stuff and that, but no one wants to pay the 70 million that Levy wants for him, Levy's going to have to cut his price down to get rid of him if he wants to get rid of him. Or does he then stay there and just let him keep on causing more and more trouble?
Yeah,
it's different. It's different if you've got 1 year left, Dan. But if you've got 2 years left on the contract, fuck it. Let Romero. The ball isn't in Romero's court here. You know, Tottenham have got the leverage here
in a World Cup year as well. So if we just said kick up a fuss if you want, but you sat there for a year.
That is a World Cup year. That is true. It is a World Cup year.
It's
just the way I'm looking on it is if he wants him out that much because he's causing that much trouble, sometimes he might have to just knock the price down if no one's willing to pay it, basically, to get him out because he's doing more damage in the club than elsewhere. But the fact that you said the World Cup coming up, I forgot about that. It's true. He can't afford to really be out for 6 months. Or can he? I don't know.
No, I mean, I
wouldn't have thought so.
Anyway, like he's guaranteed to start for them, but he's still going to want to play minutes. But the reason why no one's come in for him, I think, is his minutes. He doesn't play enough. He's injury prone.
Yeah, he's injury prone. I think that's the main reason.
Right? And I think that to a degree, not being funny, but like if you're calling out your club 3 different times in the last 6 months, a club that just won the Europa League, is that not going to be a consideration of other owners that are going, how much? I would have thought so. Where are the other clubs lining up? There isn't any. He wants to leave. No one's begging. No one's banging down the door for him. And by the way, he's called out his own owners that pay his bills 3 times in 6 months.
Well,
do we want that sort of person in our club saying the same shit about us when we can't afford £100 million player next week?
And how many can actually afford for a 70 million defender? I mean, you're talking about what? Possibly Munich. PSG we know can. Barcelona can't really throw that one quite as simple as they used to. Atletico definitely can't pay that. No one in Italy could pay that if they wanted to. And who else is there? What, possibly Real Madrid? There isn't actually many. I mean, yeah, okay, Liverpool could go and do it, whatever, but they're not gonna.
But
I'm just trying to work out the clubs that could actually pay the 70 million.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that because if a team wants a player, they'll try and make it happen. Because
I think it'll be players the other way. If
you can't pay the 70 million, if you can't come up with a price, and you know what Daniel Levy's like as well, he ain't going to accept no little two-bob deal, is he? He's the hardest man to deal with.
He can go to PSG and we'll take Bradley Barcola. How about that?
Yeah, but
I think PSG are the main legit ones that could come out and pay it up and get the deal done as such. I don't see many other clubs being able to do it like that.
But the PSG have just paid for Sabanya, haven't they?
No, I'm just giving examples. That's all of who could do it. That's all I'm saying.
I know, but I'm just saying. I think at the moment teams are just are shying away from him at the end of the day because Real Madrid have already gone and got the defender from Bournemouth, so they're not interested, right? Okay. I mean, Atletico Madrid are not really like speeding around to try and get him right now, are they?
Cash and swap, isn't it? It's going to have to be cash and player, isn't it?
So, can I bring some context to this conversation about Romero's availability for this season? Just for this season, we played 61 games. Romero started 26. He missed 4 through injury, got that toe injury. He missed 4 between Ipswich and Chelsea. They brought him back before he was fit. And I've heard people on their show saying how poor, injuries were down to Postecoglou. He rushed Romero and Van der Ven back against Chelsea.
Yep.
Romero missed. Between Chelsea and Bournemouth, Romero missed 21 games because of that injury. Right. So he's missed 4 with a toe injury that he picked up in a tackle. That's part, that's the risk of the game. So he's missed 4 there. He's missed 21 because he was rushed back. And I'm not saying he might have missed 2 or 3 more if he'd have given him time to have muscle conditioning before he brought him back in. Could have brought him back for Liverpool 2 weeks later. Didn't have to play him against Chelsea. Could have left him out against Chelsea, Rangers, Southampton, even United in the League Cup, which we won. and brought him back against Liverpool. He then rotated him in 4 of the last 6 or 7 league games. So between rotation, 4, an injury through a toe, 4, and 21 that were totally unnecessary because he rushed him back. That's 29 out of the 35 games that he missed.
Sure,
So
but this
that
isn't
wasn't his
season.
fault. No, but I'm talking about this season. This season, if you're looking at someone's fitness and you're judging, if someone plays many more games during the current season, then you're looking at it thinking, do you know what? Maybe he's put his injury worries behind him. But he missed 29 games, 4 through an injury, 21 through because he was rushed back against Chelsea. And everyone said...
No, he was rushed back from a toe injury and he went down with a different injury.
No, he wasn't. No, Sean, he was rushed. When you miss games, it's not just about that injury healing. It's about getting muscle conditioning as well.
Oh, okay. Well, hang on a second. Now you're just extrapolating this out to fit the argument.
No, I'm not.
He didn't go down with the same injury. He didn't go down and hold his toe again. He got.
Sure,
you're right. There's a fact. Yeah, for sure. There's conditioning and fitness and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, if you go down with a toe injury, if he's rushed back and he goes down with another toe injury, then you can sit there and go, well, then Angepostecoglou is a donut. But if he got a completely different injury, that could happen at any point. That could happen whether you get that 6 weeks later, to the argument you made, if he got given another couple of games. And for what it's worth, where I would support your argument is that once Angepostecoglou got all the heat for rushing him and Van der Ven back, then he didn't bring him back at all until the Europa League game. So, like, a lot of the games he missed was down to somehow like the deprioritization of the care.
And it would have made more sense the other way if he missed 21 games and then was rushed back and then went for the 4 for the muscle, but he only missed 4 games, so your body's not going to completely be away from it and everything else. So
can I bring this back to when we're saying I appreciate what you've done there in terms of you've looked at the micro of one season. Can you explain the previous 6 seasons to me then why he's always missing football?
Listen.
This is every year of his career, Lubo. He misses huge chunks of. He's injury prone. It's okay to say it. He is injury prone. He misses a lot of football. He's missed 52 Premier League games in 4 years.
Well, he played 34 out of 41 last season, I think. If he's played 26 games this season, and he's played 60 in 2 seasons, and he played 34 last year, and we only played 41. So he's played 5-6, which is about 85%.
Lubo, is Lord Rodney Trott there just done a gotcha? Because we're talking about multiple things here as to why he's not necessarily a superb.
Listen, if he doesn't want to be at the club, if
what you're saying is true, then Rodney Trott is saying then his criticism of the medical team isn't warranted.
Well, I think the criticism of the medical team was probably to do with what happened this season, where he's missed 3 months. 3 months he's missed from Chelsea.
You're saying it's down to Ange rushing him back?
Yes, it was, because you've got to get players in the right physical condition.
He missed 4 games when we were playing 2 games a week, so he's missed 2 weeks of football. Your body doesn't fall apart in 2 weeks.
He pulled a hamstring, and he wasn't sprinting either when he did it.
Yeah, these things happen, but they're separate injuries. So the argument that he was rushed back to me is moot.
I thought it was a quad when he turned the ball back. When he's
a quad, it was a quad. It wasn't a hammy. It was a quad.
That was the Chelsea game.
Isn't it funny though that he's always fit for Argentina? Isn't it funny that he's always fit for Argentina? Can I show you this? Right, let me show you. So this is on his Wikipedia page, right? If we have a look there, right? Let me remove those. Right, you'll see there. Look at the league games on the left-hand side, right? So again, if you go back to Genoa, right? Look at that. Look at that. Look at the sheer volume of league games this man misses every season for club, right? 2018-19, he's missed 11 league games. 2019-20, he's missed 8. He's missed 7 the next year. Then he's missed 18 the year after. Then he's missed then he's missed 11 the year after that. 5 the year after that, 20 the year after that. Why can't we say that this guy is he's injury prone? He is injury prone. I don't know what's so bad about saying that. I don't know why there's such a big, I get it that you like him, Lubo, but this guy, more often than not, we're going into every Romero fit today, is he not? And that's been ever since he joined before Ange and the injuries. He had the same at Genoa. He had the same at Atalanta. He is injury prone, Lubo.
Were those top two, how many games, is it 34, Dan, you play in Serie A?
Same as
It's
us, isn't it?
It's 34
Same as
games every season.
Same as us.
Same as us.
Oh, it's 38, is it?
Same as us. This is what I mean, Lubo. You look at every season. Every season, this man misses massive chunks of football.
Well,
then he's fit for Argentina, and you're sitting here out here dying on a hill for Christian Romero's fitness. He can't keep fit, mate.
Listen, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. Mickey's even worse last 2 years.
And that's why you can't have both of them.
Same argument about that bloke. If you're going to build around him, yeah, you've got to have a backup plan. If you're going to build around Mickey van der Ven, you've got to have someone in behind him because you know this boy's going to miss half a season.
You're talking about partnerships. You're talking about back four partnerships as well. So, you know, you're talking about Udogie, who's missed a third of the games.
Yeah, the difference for me is I don't think there's any difference between when Udogie plays and doesn't. That's the difference. Everyone's telling me that Romero and Van der Ven are there. When Udogie didn't play, I thought Spence was better than Udogie this season. So it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? There are certain players we talk loads about. Oh my God, this player was missing. Yeah, but were they missed? Were they actually missed? You know what I mean? I just don't know how we build around this guy, Lubo. And if somebody offers 60 million for this man, I think we've got to accept it.
You do.
He clearly doesn't want to be at the club.
Well, listen,
Really?
if he wants to go, let him go. Yeah, we've got Vuskovic coming in. You've got Danso and Dragusin, who will be okay replacements short term. Hopefully, Vuskovic meets up to the hype that he's had over the last 2 years, and he's that good. So we'll see. We'll see.
But by the way, everybody, I've said over and over again for the people saying sell him and get in who. Listen, if you get a fully fit Romero, good player, I've got no reason to get rid of him. But more than anything, all those are so desperate to keep him. Can't they see that he, more than anyone, looks like he wants to leave? Forget what us fans want. Does anyone on this panel ever watch Romero and think you're 100% committed? You definitely want to be here.
Only into a two-footed tackle.
Huh?
Only into a two-footed tackle.
Yeah, right. So all of these people that have a go at people like me going, oh, you want to get rid of Romero? No, listen to what I'm saying. Romero's the one. He's going away to his international teammates, seeing them all play for Atletico Madrid and PSG and all these sorts of clubs. He's at Tottenham. No wonder he wants to leave. I don't doubt.
Would you sell him though to a Premier League club? If Liverpool sold Kwanzaa and they wanted to bring in someone like him and they had the money to do it, would you be okay? If Manchester United wanted to buy him, would you be okay?
It's all about who we bring in for me. It's all about who we bring in. If we don't bring in anyone, then
the only way you're going to get 70 million is from a Premier League club. I don't think anyone in Europe's going to pay that money.
I don't.
Haven't we got a coach that is used to building defenses off of a lot less than, like, we're all talking, oh my God, we have to bring in a Branthwaite, a Guehi, but haven't we got a manager now that gets the less fashionable names and makes them solid as a unit? Isn't that? I'm not saying we don't go big and replace him, but Romero's not irreplaceable. I mean, I think we talk.
No, I'm not saying irreplaceable. I'm just saying it depends. Again, it comes down to the amount of times where, like, for instance, we talk about the Archie Grays and Højbjerg and things like that. I was up for getting rid of Højbjerg. We need to go on. We need to do better. We sign Archie Gray, and I'm like, that's the start. Who else are we going to bring in? Oh, we don't bring in anyone else. Oh, we get Matisse Tell. We don't bring in anyone else. And it's that constant thing that we keep doing. When Romero's there and he's playing well, he's a let's say a very good centre half. If you want to, he's a very good centre half. But actually, when we got Danzo, who's a good centre half, right? We're now going to Champions League football, and we've made our centre back position arguably worse. So again, it needs to constantly be that we're putting the right players in the right team, buying the right replacements, getting and improving the 11. And on his day, we are technically going to be making our 11 worse. So I think it depends on who we bring. And I think there's a lot of players like that. I think Son, will he go? Won't he go? Romero, will we get the right offer? Won't we? There's so many players. Basuma, Bentancur. I think that's part of the problem, is that there's so many players that we are open to possibly sell.
Sorry, Lord Rodney, stop being a dick. I'm just going to call this out right now. First of all, Romero has got nothing to do with Sane, Grealish. I don't know what that's got to do with anything, right? Second of all, when you're saying happy that Romero will be sold, this is a guy that does not play a lot. Like, this is, I don't know what we're doing here, because fans like you will complain. You keep Romero, then when he's injured, we go, oh, but Romero's injured. Yeah, we know this. We know this. We knew this from last season and didn't address it this year. So it's not about, oh my God, I want him to be sold. If he doesn't want to be, I don't know what you're not getting about this. If he doesn't want to be here, sell him. Surely everyone on the panel is getting what I'm saying, right? I'm not saying actively sell him, but if he doesn't want to be here, surely you try and find a solution to that, don't you? Isn't that how football works?
The other part is we might play 5 at the back or 3 at the back, however you want to put it.
Again,
so if he
not listening, not listening. Eugene, you're doing this a lot tonight as well. You're not listening. No one said we want to be another Brentford. I'm just saying we've got a coach that can upskill people, right? We've got a coach that can get defenders that maybe aren't as exciting names, but actually makes them a good defence. Look what he did with Konsa, got him his move to Villa. Look what he's done with Step Vandenberg. Collins, Pinnock. Wasn't Pinnock playing non-league football at one point? Or League 2 or something? Turn him into a... Right, this is what I give up. You lot talk. I give up with some of my chat. It's they're not listening. They hear what they want to hear. They hear what they want to hear.
What I was saying is, in terms of signings, in terms of everything, a lot of this does depend on what sort of formation he goes with. If he's playing 3 at the back, then centre halves are going to what we need. Dragassin's out for the season, so you go into it with only technically probably 3 or 4 maybe. So a lot of that will also depend on what sort of position we're in terms of who he wants to play. Because if he plays 3 at the back, then that monster 6 we keep talking about is, we don't need an actual 6. We just need a player that can play a bit defensively, because you'll have 3 at the back. So there's a lot of it going to be dependent on what sort of formation he goes with, in my eyes.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, let me ask you boys at the top. We'll finish in the next 10 minutes. But guys, I think automatically is, if you say about Romero and Van de Ven, everyone goes, oh, who do you want? Who do you want? Dragassin and Danso aren't good enough. But isn't the point here that these players will look much better when they're not played in a back 2 and not played with inverted fullbacks and not played without a double pivot or a DM sitting in front of them? Isn't that the point, that a coach that actually makes you a solid unit, you look better? Isn't that the point here, guys? Isn't that why we brought in Frank?
I think that was a proven why we won Europa League, when they played it as a solid back 4 or solid defense. You saw how good they were as a solid defense. Unfortunately, we weren't great as attacking force, but you could see when you played to their strengths, they're very, very good. But in saying that, you could have it better with a back 3 and utilize them better, and that could be better as well. You know what I mean? But it also helps my argument again about competition, because Van de Ven and Romero weren't as good last season. And you can argue Dragassin and others had were effective, much more effective than them. And if they had more opportunity, they could have been similar had a better season, similar season to them. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, I do totally agree with you, Savva, that I do think we should be with the coaching of Thomas Frank. Hopefully he'll play to their strengths and probably play a system that will suit all the defenders we've got. And I think for me, I think Dan made this point. It's better in the back 3. That's my point anyway.
Yeah. Does anyone? Dan, let me ask you. You're mute, Dan. You're on mute.
My bad. Yeah, the team at the moment, for me, it still looks better playing 5 at the back, 3 at the back, whatever way you want to put it. That's what I would say at the moment. It all depends on who we buy. I mean, if we do get rid of Romero, depending how much money for him, I feel we definitely do have to get a defender in there, whether we're playing 2 at the back or 3 at the back, though, of good standards. I mean, it depends what sort of defender you want. How's he going to play it? Is he going to play it with a solid 3 centre backs, or does he want ball playing centre backs or whatever? That's all other things we're going to find out as well. I mean, one I wouldn't mind going for personally, but we wouldn't. He's 29. I still think underrated defender, and I don't think it costs an arm and a leg, is Mancini at Roma. He's another one that I wouldn't mind having for a season or two. I think could quite easily handle the Premier League.
He's 10 years too old for this project, Dan.
Yeah. What is he now? 28? Something like that? 28, 29? I think. But
Yeah.
it's another one who I think is a very good defender. I think he'd do well in the Premier League, and I don't think it cost us an arm and a leg either. So if Romero does go, we do have to replace him with a player of some standards, I would say.
Yeah.
But it also comes down to how the manager's going to want to play in that.
We're going for a Premier League player, man. We're not going to go for Italian player, are we?
Italian is one of the best places to go.
We're not going to go to a European League, are we? Because we're not as clever as that, unfortunately. I'm not dissing it. I'm not dissing it. I'm saying,
hang on, Alex. We've just our first 2 signings this summer have been from European leagues.
No. I'm just saying. I don't think we're going to be that clever to go for what Dan's saying at the moment. I'll say that's just me. I don't think we are, because like Dragusin was well known in terms of Bayern Munich were looking at him. Yeah, you got the point about Danzo. But Wolves were nearly going to buy him anyway, and then we snatched it on the last minute. So what my point
I don't understand the point. You're saying we're not clever enough to go to Europe. We've just signed Matisse Tel from Germany and Danso from France, who I believe both of those 2 are European countries. I don't understand the point.
No, I'm going for clever signings that no one really knows about. You see what I'm saying? I don't think.
So you think we're going to go for the obvious? We're going to go. So we're going to go for like a Garnacho of Man United because we know who he is and he's playing the Premier League.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think we're going to be as clever as like a Brighton or what Dan's saying, because I concur what Dan's saying. I'm actually agreeing with you, Dan. You know what I mean? But it's just like I just think at the moment I just don't see us being as clever as that. You know what I mean? I really don't. Maybe I could give a little bit more credence to maybe Paratici to do that, but I just don't see it. You know what I mean? Because there's too many times I've seen we've gone for the obvious one, and there's always one that comes out the mire. Like Italian teams always sign for cheap, that we get more expensive players than they get cheaper players, and it's ridiculous.
Alex, Paratici signed mainly foreign players in those 2 years.
Yeah, but just at the moment, I just don't. Yeah.
Did you just mention Garnacho, Savva?
I'm starting to see a lot of reports the last 24 hours that we're in for Garnacho. Yes.
Can I just tell you a little secret? I mentioned it the other day on my channel. So I pulled out the Y Scout and I was looking up wingers, and I was doing. I don't know if you guys are familiar with how the Y Scout works, right? But you essentially start off with like 850,000 players. And then you pick the position that you might be looking at, and then you get to drop in as like one of or 10, 100 of whatever filters you want around like any particular division of the game, and then you can just dial up like the minimum amount of whatever that you want to see. So it might be take-ons or successful take-ons completed, crosses, XG, XA, whatever the fuck statistic you want. You dial them up, and you end up filtering out all players that don't quite make those minimum filtering numbers. I must have spent an hour tweaking and twerking all of the different filters that I would think are important in a winger that we would look for our system, and it didn't matter what I did. I got down to like 10 wingers every time from 800,000. Every single time Garnacho was in it. In terms of what I would imagine the club are looking for.
Dan, go and do what you need to do.
I'll see you later on.
Yeah. Cheers, man. Sean, can I tell you something?
In terms of what I would imagine the club are looking for in a winger, in terms of what we're looking for, I was dialing it up, going, how do I get rid of this bastard? If I tweak this one away, push this one up a little bit more, didn't matter. He was like, he as far as what I could imagine we'd look for in a winger, he was there every time. The only problem is that there's a no dickheads rule at Thomas Frank's Tottenham, isn't there?
The interesting thing about this is I was looking at some stats the other day. And by the way, listen, I don't look at Garnacho and think, oh my God, amazing. I also don't look at him and think, you're the worst player. I think there's a lot of baggage that comes with Garnacho, but actually as a talented footballer, there's definitely a really good player there. And they were showing that up until he turned 20, he was third in the world for the most goals and assists of any teenagers in world football. And I think it was only behind Yamal and Doué. And let's be fair, that Yamal and Doué, right? they're pretty good. I'll be honest, I would have rather Garnacho than Tell. I think at least with Garnacho, there's something there to work with. And but I don't think he's the worst player, but I think it's the baggage. I think it's that he can't stay off the social media. Like he's got that young disease, isn't he? Of like thinking he's better than he is, but he's not the worst footballer I've ever seen. Needs work, but not worse.
I think Man United are only selling him because of FFP. Let's be honest here. You know what I mean? Because I think if they didn't have any problems with FFP, I think they would.
Their fan base. Their fan base. There's a lot of baggage. He's fought with fans. He's like shouted at fans when they've dug him out and things like that. So there's a lot of baggage.
Well, fair enough. I'm just saying. I mean, obviously, I don't really watch Man United too much in that sense, but I do think that's another thing as well. I do concur what Savva was saying a little bit there. You know what I mean? That there is maybe something to work with a little bit there. You know what I mean? And that could be something that you could tap into with Thomas Frank. But the only thing I would say is that would he be? He's an arrogant player. He's an arrogant player, isn't he? So, with all the nice guys we've got in our club, other than Romero, who's not a nice guy, is that going to really really do well in our team at the moment? You know what I mean? But
that ain't always a negative, though, is it? I think the problem with him is that if you go and sign him and it's not a ridiculous fee, say it's like 40 million, it's one of them where everybody goes in 2 years. Why did we not go? Or, that's why no one went.
Listen, by the way, I'm not saying sign him. I'm just saying I feel like this is one of those ones where his ability is being overlooked because of external issues. So like somebody in the chat just said, he's absolutely really, really shit. Well, if you of every teenager in world football, if you've got the third best stats, you can't be really, really shit, can you?
He didn't say his hair.
His input stats are. I'm just saying, it took me about 25 different variations for me to get him out of that list. He was always there. Was
it good hair? Did you do good hair? And it was
good hair. Needs to put on a bit of weight. His face looks like Skeletor. All that's basically what I was looking for in a winger, basically. And he was there
for me, Sean, what it looks like with a Garnacho is I feel like he's got all the skill in the world. He's got all the ability in the world. I think it needs a coach that can grab hold of him and get his final decision making right. Because there were many Man United games I watched where it was like, oh God, this guy's done all the hard work. He's got into a great position. Should have shot, laid it back. Should have laid it back, shot. That type of thing. I'm not saying we're going to get him. I'm just saying I'm starting to see.
That's what separates. I used to say this last year. There's 1,025 million pound wingers out there that are good take on players. They're 10 a penny. The one that turns you into a 70 million pound player is knowing how to knowing what to do with it at the end of the move. When to look up, when to pass, when to take it, or when to shoot. But Garnacho appears to be valued at 70 million pound and yet doesn't necessarily have the final decision. So you're paying for perfection with him as well, aren't you?
Yeah,
absolutely.
You're never going to get anybody perfection. Look at Ronaldo. And I'm not comparing before anybody says anything, because I see people in the chat abusing the main event, and you're not getting the better of me. I don't really care if you don't like me. Get over it. The point I'm making is though, is that Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo, I'm talking about, was kind of similar in terms of had the arrogance, had all the skill in the world, right? Couldn't finish for any toffee. Final ball, terrible. But look what happened when you got a coach involved. You know what I mean? It's just like, I think for me at the moment, because this is how deluded our chat, some of the chat is sometimes. We're saying that Garnacho is rubbish. Well, those are the same people that are bigging up Archie Gray. You know what I mean? Archie Gray, Burval. Yeah. So let's talk about levels. Let's talk about levels. Yeah. And you don't think I know about my football? Well, stick that one up. Okay, Cole. Back to you, Savva. I'm done.
Yeah, look, I think it's worth noting as well. I think we are allowed to talk about footballers without everyone going, "Oh my God, Savva desperately wants Garnacho." I've not said that anywhere. We're allowed to talk about footballers. I do feel like it's crazy. Like in football now, if you suggest any player is a good player, everyone thinks you've called them world class, and they go, "No, he's shit. He's shit." It's players are either world class or shit. Like it feels like there's no middle ground in terms of it. I think that he's got a good career if he can get the right people around him. If he can get the right people around him to say, "Wait, stop with all this media, stop with this." I don't know what he's on X or Instagram. Stop all that. Go to a club, get your head down and learn from a coach. I think there's a good player there. Now, if Tottenham sign him, I don't know. It'll be an utter meltdown in our fan base. I can see this boy going to a Newcastle, a Villa. I can see him going there. I think he's got credit in the bank he's only 20, by the way. He's got good stats for a 20-year-old.
But do we look at it like when we try and sell a player, we've got to look at it from the other club's point of view. If we was Man United now, we'd be looking at Garnacho going, yeah, he's this, he's that. But I tell you what, I wouldn't come up against him. I wouldn't want to see where he gets to, the level that he might get to. So sell him abroad, get him away so that we don't really come up against him. That's what I think they'd be doing. Or having a massive sell-on clause, because otherwise you run that risk. And we've done it with Dele Alli. It was all like, we don't want to sell him here, because if we sell him here, he's going to go on and become what he was previously. So I don't think they'll look to do a UK bid. I think they'll try and get him abroad.
If we're going to talk about Garnacho like this, I'd love to hear the conversation about Sancho. I'd love to hear that about Sancho right now. But I know we can't do that right now. I know we can't do it right now. I know you want it in the show soon. But I'm
Alex, stick that on your Keiko and smoke it. What was it? What you said a minute ago?
Yeah, sorry.
Do you know what? Just before we wrap up, guys, do you know what I'd be really interested to see? Again, if Matisse Tell, right, was at Man United doing what Garnacho's doing right now, would all the people saying, I think Tell's a good signing for Spurs, still be saying he's a good signing? Because if you actually look at the two players side by side, Garnacho's superior to Tell at everything. Right? If you put them side by side, look at what they've done in their careers, the stats, the numbers. Look, if you actually look, Garnacho's the much better footballer. Half our fan base will sit there and go, I'll have Tell, I'll take Tell. Will be the same people going, God, Garnacho. This is why I don't understand our fan base. I'm truly baffled by our fan base as to what we want.
If Garnacho wasn't a bit of a donut, then I think everyone would be after him, right? So I think that's just the...
I think there are people that hate him. I think there's a lot of people that just don't like him as a footballer.
Really?
Yeah, but that's the same with everything. Whenever you sign up, and then you sign a manager or you sign a player, and all of a sudden you just get all the different things. You go, oh my God, he's the best player we've ever seen.
Right.
Because of the 10-minute YouTube video. So I think if we was to sign Garnacho, there might people that are going, oh, his attitude ain't great. But give it 5 games, he's scored a goal. You're all like, oh, hang on a minute. Maybe he's the player. So, and there's also a lot of people that don't follow other clubs. They're so intertwined with Spurs that they just look at a stat. Solomon's a prime example. They look at a stat and go, he's got 10-10. Oh, gee, must be an absolute baller. Let's start him in the Champions League against Real Madrid away. So I think that's part of it.
It's a player that's just not had his way, right? And if a player's not had his way for a couple of seasons, they become available. But if they're up and up and up, those are going to be well away from our radar. So I mean, the players that are used to be at the top, right, and fill away a little bit, you can get those players back to that top with a good coach. This is why I talk about Martin O'Neill, Sam Allardyce, love these sort of players. Harry Redknapp loved these sort of players because he sat there and thought, they used to be good. I'll kick them out, take them away, get them back into our club, do a little bit of motivation and have some good coaches around them. New environment, you've got a new player. You've got a new player.
As long as they want to get to
I know. I absolutely agree. But this is the thing, because people are so narrow-minded, revisionism. Sorry, that's a big word for Mr. Botsoff, if someone's tell me, but I'm a little bit clever. The point is, though, it's like, well, this is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't really get it. You know what I mean? But the player does need to. Luke, you make me right. I make you right. The player needs to want it, but I just think people just got short minds for me, because these players are still good players. They know how to play football. You know
I
what
also
mean?
think Frank is
Sancho, Garnacho. That's what I'm saying.
think-
I'm not. By the way, I've not said anywhere I want him. I love how because I brought his name up. Everyone's going. Savva wants it. I've not said I want him. I've not said
I'm
I
going to
want
see
him.
it all over X. Savva said.
It's mad. Honestly, I always say this. This microphone here is magic. You say something into it, but what comes out the other end on the internet is something completely different. By the way, see, Brighton have done what I think we should be doing. Brighton have just signed a 21-year-old centre half from Italy for 10 million euros. That's how you buy your youth players to develop.
They're also about to sign that 35 million euro player from Olympiacos, that striker.
Sure.
You know he's going to be a baller, don't you? I don't know what his name. I forget his name.
Because Brighton scout properly. Yeah, I've seen him play as well. He can play. But this is why I don't understand why we've not done more of this. We did it with Bergvall, and then everyone else seems to be a really expensive.
No, but that's what I meant. That's what I meant earlier. We go for the obvious ones. Brighton don't go for the obvious ones. That's what I meant earlier.
I agree with you. They scout.
Last week, weren't we talking about signing Froholt, and everyone was saying we don't need any more kids? And then tonight he's gone. Where did he go to? He's gone somewhere in Europe, hasn't he? Froholt.
Frankfurt, yeah.
So wouldn't that have been like resoundingly mugged off by the fan base, but at the same time a demonstration of what we're supposed to be doing?
Yeah, sure, but I think the point is at this moment in time, Sean, is we've got so many young players like we don't need any more. I feel like that's the point. Surely we've got to coach the Donnellys, the Odebers, you know, the Moores, the Yangs, the Vuskoviches, the Ashley Phillips. Surely we've got to coach them before we worry about bringing in more. Whereas Brighton's model, Brighton aren't a Champions League team. I know Lubo said I've got to walk before I can run, but we are a Champions League team, Lubo. And we're a Champions League team. We should be going for like the next notch up. And I don't feel like we are. But hey, it's another story. It's another day. Let me do some super chats and we'll end it there. Patch Thomas, he's having a pop at me all night. You mean you've seen some highlights? You haven't seen how he stands up to a wet Thursday in Stoke? Yeah, yes. I've never seen a Greek striker who's never played in England in Stoke. Yes, what a very weird thing.
Ashley Phillips.
Yeah.
The guy's name is Charalampos Kostoulas.
Yeah,
or Kostalas. I don't know how you'd say that name.
Big up to Marios out there in Cyprus with the super sticker. Thank you very much, my man. Really appreciate you. Thank you for everything you do for the channel. Really appreciate that. Big up to Ricardo, who says, sorry, late to the show. Is it possible the money spent on Tell is in a different budget bracket? I.e., this is a separate budget around buying and what they see as for Kane. Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is, which is why I said I think it's really lazy. I feel like we've gone and got Tell because Bayern owe us the money. But hey, it's done. It's dusted. We move forward, and we now need better coming in. Big up to you, Ricardo. Big up to Tot Spurs, who has said, big up Savva on the panel. Forgetting club signings for a moment and reporter links. Does anyone know what Frank expects from Tottenham? I mean, I'm hearing reports that he wants a Semenyo, an Eze, or an Mbeumo, but it's reports, right, guys? And none of us can sit here and say we know exactly what the manager wants, can we?
A lot of them are on predications.
We'll pretend that we do.
Yeah. We'll tell you we know, but we
pretend, with a straight face that we know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, it's mad. Listen, I'd like to think. Listen, I know. Listen, bringing in a coach means that you don't always have to go for the big names. I just hope that it is some players that he wants. I really hope it's players that he said, I identify that player as someone I can develop. Whether that's a Nathan Collins that people would lose their mind at, whether that's a Norgard or a Damsgaard, I don't know. Those ilks of players, let's see. But big up to you, Tot Spurs. Really appreciate that. And Jamie Allen's come in and said, Garnacho has decent stats because he's played almost every game for the last 3 seasons. That's one of a few reasons United has fallen. Whoa. Oi! Sorry. And that's what... Yeah, but Jamie, it's a little bit harsh to then knock a player's stats because they've played every game, isn't it? Like, isn't that what you want them to do? You want them to play and have good stats, isn't it? I'm a bit harsh, this guy, for me. I don't know what you think. It's a little bit harsh.
Yeah, I'd say that his stats are they're less likely to be high, especially if you're looking at percentages as opposed to... Like if you're looking at crosses per game, for instance, that's not going to be impacted. It's going to be harder to do it over a more period of time. than if you've done it over a 10-game spout.
He was the only player that worried me when he came on in the final at Bilbao.
Agreed.
The only one.
Agreed.
Just can't
He looked
watch that
dangerous
hair
when he
every
came
week.
And that overhead kick in the last 20 seconds could have gone anywhere. Could have gone anywhere.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting. Look, guys. Oh God, here we go. This guy goes for me every day. Let's see what he said. Savva, how often have you said Spurs need to go big? You're being a hypocrite. I mean, first and foremost, I mean, you've got to listen to what comes out of my mouth. I'm saying if Thomas Frank has said, I want this player, don't we want Levy to give Thomas Frank what he wants? Guys, isn't that the point of football? That the manager says, I want him. Surely then, if the chairman gives that to him, that is what we've been asking for, right?
Let's hope he does. Let's hope he does.
I could literally sit here and say it's Sunday night and some people will find a way to tell me it's Wednesday. Honestly, it's utterly crazy how people like this breathe the same air as us. Listen to what I'm saying, Soul Sniper. I would love Spurs to go big, but I'm saying if Frank wants X, Y, or Z, get him X, Y, or Z. Then it's all on Frank.
There's a tweet here about Frank and what he wants. Thomas Frank is excited by the prospect of working with, I'll let you fill in the name, whom he believes he can improve. Frank studied the player himself and felt the move was a good one. Who do you think it was?
Tell.
Yeah, so Frank wants Tell. So
who said that?
Real Frank and
Where did that come from?
Alistair Gold, apparently.
Sure. Alistair Gold told me once that we were signing Milan Skriniar, and if we didn't get him, it was going to be... Who was the other one in the list that was really good?
Savva, if on his first day back from holiday, he goes, yeah, sure, I'm really looking forward to working with Matisse Tell. I think he's a great player, and I think we can get the most out of him. Are you going to sit there then and go, all right, I'll get behind it. Matisse Tell, get a shirt. I'm going to get a shirt with Tell on the back. Tell number 7. Replace Sonny. Take Sonny. It's what you got to do, Sam. That's what you just said, right? If Thomas Frank wants X, Y, or Z.
Sure. Hence why, when people are all those years going, oh, Ange wasn't backed, hang on. Ange said he was backed. I'll do the same thing with Frank. If Frank comes out and says, yeah, I wanted Tell and I wanted this player, cool, go and coach them. Cool. I won't be a hypocrite on that. If you say it, right? Ange said it, and everyone told me, oh, no, it was just for the press. Well, which one is it? Hey, it is what it is. We got some very, very, very strange fans.
Just quickly, Phil P, if you don't know me by now, mate, every accent that I do is a little bit French. That's part of my repertoire, mate. You must know that by now.
I was going to ask where he's from, but I thought I'd leave that for another show.
He's Scottish. Yeah.
Why is he Welsh? Where's that come from?
So do we? So do we call you Danielle now?
Oh God! Honestly,
it's late.
I feel like context, whenever talking about football, just absolutely flies out the window, doesn't it? Or my point is this: if Tottenham went and signed Norgard, just an example. Tottenham went and signed Norgard now. You would think that that's because Frank has said, "I want that guy," right? Would that be 2 and 2 and getting 4 to say that if we sign Norgard, that Frank would be behind it? All I'm saying is, if that's the signing that he wants, I'm cool with that, because you know what? Every manager for me is judged against what they do. Every manager is judged against how they coach these players. So, cool. Let's go for it. As a fan, I can say whoever I want. I want Messi. I want Eze. I want Skriniar. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, guys. Why haven't we had the Frank interview yet? Isn't he on holiday?
Yeah.
He's on holiday.
Like let's create conspiracy theories. That's what we're doing tomorrow morning. Where is my interview? Mon interview for the French that are listening.
I've heard he's not given an interview because he's busy locked away in a hotel room with Garnacho and his team trying to maneuver that.
Nice.
Anyone else? Why have we not, Lubo, your theory, why have we not had a Thomas Frank interview? Give us something juicy.
Hang on, I might be able to give you the reason. It was in Football London tonight. Hold on, the light.
We don't want truth. We want stupid hyperbole. Come on now.
I heard it's because he's studying his Welsh to make you sound a little bit more like Sean.
Nice.
I thought Sean sounded Swedish, actually.
What do you mean, though? What are you talking about? Have you all seen that amazing Garnacho? He's amazing, he is. He's proper. Come on, that's pretty good. Pretty good, though, isn't it?
It was pretty good, I'll be honest. I was expecting a lot worse. When I heard the Danish, I was expecting a lot worse.
Right, on that note.
I'm sure there'll be an interview this week. I'm sure we'll hear from him.
Yeah. Somebody yesterday in my chat said, utterly disgusting that he's gone on holiday. If you sign a new manager, I expect him to be ready to go. And you're like, yeah, sorry that the man's not had a holiday since August last year and wants to go away with his family. Like, it's
just quickly, I was told that Vinny was the king of communication. He's been here at least a week and we haven't heard diddly shit from him yet. Vinny out. Vinny out. Game over.
Do you know what, though? Conspiracy theories, Sean. We like conspiracy theories. None of the statements made about Ange out or Frank in or anything have been signed off by Daniel Coys. Maybe Vinny ghosts his responses. Maybe they're all Vinny.
Yeah, he's put a thumb.
That's interesting. I was reading about
it. V, just V.
Did you read the article I sent you through?
Yes. Yeah.
Because they actually said they mentioned that, didn't they? That Levy signed it off, but didn't sign it like he normally does.
No Daniel Coys.
Yeah. But also, did they all want Frank to just go and sit in a training ground while everyone's on holiday and he's on his own?
Yeah.
It's just that away. Like, this is amazing.
Can you imagine, Thomas? What you do in the next few weeks? I was going to the Bahamas with the wife and the kids.
Do it in an accent. Do it in an. If you're going to do it, do it in any accent you want, but do it in an accent. Come on now, play the game.
Maybe they want like some sort of airport lounge footage of Thomas Frank and really happy to be the new Spurs manager. I don't need to hear from Thomas Frank at the moment. I don't need to hear from him.
I need to hear from you doing a Thomas Frank impression in any accent of your choice. Say something, but say it in Rastafarian. Okay, come on now.
Oh gosh. Anyway, guys. On that note, that crazy note, what we've worked out tonight before we leave is that everyone wants Jack Grealish to join the club and Garnacho on our left-hand side. Matisse Tell is going to be a Ballon d'Or winner by 2027. Archie Gray is going to captain Spurs this season after another stunning performance for England at right back tonight in the under-21s. The midfielder who never plays in midfield is the name of his autobiography. Alex doesn't want Spurs. Sorry, Alex thinks that Spurs are going to sign no one from Europe, even though all of our signings are coming from Europe. Sean Butler believes that everyone should speak Welsh. Lubo doesn't believe we're a Champions League team and then says in the same sentence, factually, we're a Champions League team.
You know what I meant. You know what I meant.
And Luke has a mug with Ange Postecoglou's face and he likes drinking from it. Other than that...
The quote of the night from Alex Box Office TV, well, you might have got to burn or swim. Swim or burn. Swim or burn.
And Davies is better than Romero. Don't forget that one.
Davies is better than Romero. Yeah. Davies is better than Romero. On that note, thank you, everybody who's watched. We've had good viewing figures tonight. Thank you for all the likes, the super chats. I haven't checked the subscribers. I'm sure a few of you have subscribed tonight. Welcome. Much love to you all. And as always, come on, you Spurs.